Humanity has carved its story into stone, bone, and earth. Yet some chapters refuse to be read. Across deserts, jungles, and ocean floors lie discoveries that don't fit the timelines we trust or the science we rely on. Structures too precise, artifacts too advanced, traces of cultures that seem to arrive before they should exist at all. Were they mistakes, coincidences, or something we still don't understand? Tonight we descend into the evidence itself. 3 hours of bizarre archaeological mysteries that continue to challenge everything we think we know. Let's begin. High in the Andes of central Peru, more than 4,000 meters above sea level, a vast stone plateau stretches into the thin mountain air. Marcahuasi is quiet, wind-swept, and imposing. An elevated landscape of eroded granite towers, fractured cliffs, and massive rock formations scattered across the high plain. From a distance, the stones appear random, shaped by time and weather. But as visitors move closer, something unusual begins to emerge. Faces seem to stare back from the rock walls. Animals, human profiles, and unfamiliar figures appear frozen in stone, as if the mountain itself is watching. Marcahuasi has long been known to local communities, but it gained wider attention in the 20th century, when explorers and researchers began documenting its strange formations. Some of the rocks resemble recognizable figures with startling clarity: a human head in profile, a condor with outstretched wings, a lion-like shape, even forms that appear to merge human and animal features. These likenesses are not clustered in one place but spread across the plateau, visible from multiple angles and distances. From a geological perspective, the mainstream explanation is straightforward. Marcahuasi is composed primarily of granite, shaped over millions of years by erosion, freezing and thawing, wind, and seismic activity. Nature, given enough time, can produce shapes that resemble familiar patterns, a phenomenon known as pareidolia, where the human brain instinctively finds meaning in randomness. According to this view, the faces and figures are coincidences, perceived rather than intentionally created. Yet the scale and consistency of the formations complicate that explanation for some observers. Unlike isolated rock shapes found elsewhere, Marcahuasi presents dozens, possibly hundreds, of forms that seem deliberately positioned and proportioned. Some appear aligned along sight lines or ridges. Others change expression depending on the angle of light or the viewer's position, suggesting a level of visual planning that feels, to some, unsettlingly precise. Adding to the mystery is the lack of definitive archaeological evidence. There are traces of ancient human presence on the plateau: stone walls, platforms, and signs of habitation dating back thousands of years. Pre-Incan cultures are known to have lived and traveled through the region, but no clear consensus exists on whether these civilizations modified the stone figures themselves. No tool marks have been conclusively identified, and no records describe large-scale stone carving at this altitude. Still, alternative theories persist. Some researchers have suggested that Marcahuasi may have been a ceremonial or symbolic site, where natural formations were subtly altered or emphasized to serve ritual or astronomical purposes. Others propose that the figures represent forgotten mythologies or ancestral beings, encoded in stone by a culture whose knowledge has been lost to time. More speculative interpretations push even further. The most controversial ideas suggest that Marcahuasi preserves evidence of a highly advanced ancient civilization, capable of shaping stone on a monumental scale, or that the site serves as a kind of geological archive, intentionally designed to endure cataclysms and pass messages across millennia. A few fringe voices have even wondered whether the figures depict beings not entirely human, raising questions about ancient contact or unknown chapters of human history. These theories remain unproven, and many are dismissed by mainstream scholars as imaginative but unsupported. Yet they persist, fueled by the site's isolation, its visual impact, and the unanswered questions surrounding its origin. Marcahuasi resists easy classification. It is neither fully explained nor entirely enigmatic, existing in a gray space between geology, archaeology, and human interpretation. As mist rolls across the plateau and shadows stretch over the stone faces, the line between natural formation and intentional design feels increasingly thin. Were these shapes simply accidents of erosion, or did ancient hands once guide the stone? And if so, what were they trying to preserve, communicate, or remember? For now, Marcahuasi remains silent, its figures weathered, watchful, and unresolved, waiting for future eyes to decide what they truly see. From the silent stone faces of Marcahuasi, where nature and intention seem to blur into one another, the trail of unanswered questions leads us deeper into South America, eastward, across mountains and forests, to a place carved not by erosion, but by hands whose methods remain elusive. In the foothills of the eastern Bolivian Andes, where the highlands begin to dissolve into the Amazon basin, a massive rock outcrop rises from the landscape. At first glance, Samaipata Fortress appears understated, less a fortress in the traditional sense, more a monumental slab of living stone. But as the mist lifts and the surface comes into view, the scale of what lies here becomes clear. Entire sections of the mountain have been carved directly into the bedrock. Channels, terraces, niches, animal figures, and geometric patterns etched with remarkable precision across a single expanse of sandstone. Known locally as El Fuerte, Samaipata is one of the largest known rock-carved ceremonial sites in the world. Archaeological evidence confirms that it was used by multiple cultures over many centuries. The earliest carvings are attributed to pre-Incan peoples, possibly the Chane, with later modifications made by the Inca Empire after their expansion into the region in the 15th century. Still later, the Spanish would occupy the surrounding area, adding yet another layer to the site's long and complex history. Mainstream archaeology describes Samaipata as a ceremonial and administrative center rather than a military fortress. The carvings, depicting serpents, felines, birds, and abstract symbols, are thought to have held religious or cosmological significance. Water channels etched into the stone may have been part of ritual practices, guiding rainwater or offerings across the surface in carefully planned paths. The site's elevated position suggests it was a place of observation, perhaps tied to seasonal cycles or celestial events. Yet even within this framework, questions quickly arise. The rock carvings are not shallow or crude. Many are deeply incised, smooth-edged, and astonishingly consistent across large distances. Entire animals stretch several meters in length, carved directly into uneven stone. The precision required to create these forms, without metal tools, modern surveying equipment, or machinery, is difficult to fully account for. Experimental archaeology has attempted to replicate small sections using stone tools, but scaling those methods to the size and uniformity of Samaipata remains a challenge. There is also the matter of the stone itself. Sandstone is softer than granite, but carving it cleanly on such a scale still demands time, coordination, and technical knowledge. The rock surface is not flat. It slopes, curves, and fractures naturally, yet the carvings adapt seamlessly to these contours. How were designs planned across such a vast, irregular canvas? Were they mapped out in advance or guided by traditions and techniques we no longer understand? Some researchers have noted that certain channels and grooves do not appear purely decorative or symbolic. Their gradients are precise, their intersections deliberate. This has led to speculation that Samaipata may have functioned as a hydraulic or acoustic space, where water flow and sound played roles in ritual experiences. Others have suggested astronomical alignments, proposing that parts of the carvings correspond to solstices, star movements, or solar shadows, though definitive proof remains elusive. As with many sites that resist easy explanation, more speculative ideas have taken root at the edges of academic discussion. A minority of researchers and independent investigators propose that Samaipata reflects knowledge inherited from an earlier, forgotten civilization, one capable of large-scale stoneworking far earlier than conventional timelines suggest. In this view, the Inca may not have created Samaipata from scratch, but rather adapted and repurposed something already ancient. There are even theories that the carvings served as a kind of record, symbolic maps, encoded histories, or representations of landscapes and beings no longer present. The absence of written records from the cultures that shaped the stone leaves these interpretations open, suspended between possibility and imagination. What is certain is that Samaipata does not fully reveal itself. Despite decades of study, parts of the site remain eroded, inaccessible, or only partially understood. New carvings are still being documented, while others fade slowly back into the rock under the pressure of time and weather. The fortress, if it can be called that, feels less like a completed statement and more like an ongoing question carved into the earth. Standing before the vast stone surface, one is left to wonder, were these markings meant to be seen from above, from afar, or by those who no longer walk this land? And if the techniques used to shape Samaipata cannot be easily replicated today, what does that say about the knowledge that once existed, and what else, still hidden in stone, might remain just beyond our understanding? From the windswept heights of Samaipata, where human hands carved living stone with an expertise that challenges modern understanding, our exploration moves northward, across the Iberian Peninsula, to a land where stone walls and terraces whisper of a different kind of ingenuity. Here, the mystery is not written in animals or celestial symbols, but in the very architecture of defense itself. La Bastida, a Bronze Age settlement that still guards its secrets behind thick stone ramparts and winding passages. Perched atop a rocky hill in the Murcia region of southeastern Spain, La Bastida commands a sweeping view of the surrounding valleys. From a distance, it appears as a series of rugged terraces, jutting stone foundations, and massive walls that hug the contours of the hilltop. The settlement's scale is impressive. Carefully laid stones form multi-tiered fortifications, while narrow streets wind between densely packed dwellings. The remains suggest a society intensely focused on security, organization, and the projection of power. Yet much about the construction itself raises questions that remain unresolved. Archaeologists date La Bastida to the Late Bronze Age, around the 16th to 13th centuries, BCE. Excavations have revealed a complex defensive network: concentric walls, bastions, and elevated terraces designed to control movement and visibility. Towers, gates, and strategically placed openings suggest a population highly attuned to the threats of invasion and the art of fortification. Within the settlement, homes cluster tightly together, built from mud brick atop stone foundations, connected by narrow alleyways that twist and turn almost like a deliberate maze. On the surface, these features speak to practical defensive needs, but as the layers of architecture are analyzed, deeper mysteries emerge. The walls themselves present one of the most striking enigmas. Constructed from massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, they fit together with precision that hints at careful planning and advanced knowledge of masonry. Unlike the dry stone constructions seen elsewhere in Bronze Age Europe, certain segments of La Bastida's fortifications exhibit remarkably regular joints and alignments. Scholars have noted that the builders achieved not only stability, but also a degree of sophistication in distributing weight and resisting erosion that modern builders would struggle to replicate using only the tools of the period. How, precisely, were such heavy stones quarried, transported uphill, and positioned with such accuracy without mechanical assistance. Equally intriguing is the settlement's urban layout. Streets and terraces conform closely to the hill's natural contours, yet there is a deliberate geometry to the arrangement. Houses cluster in compact, almost modular blocks, interspersed with public or communal spaces whose purpose remains debated. Some researchers argue that the organization reflects social hierarchies or defensive logic, strategically placing dwellings to optimize visibility and accessibility. Yet the consistency and apparent sophistication of the plan suggest knowledge of surveying and spatial planning that is rarely documented for this era. La Bastida also raises questions about labor and coordination. Constructing and maintaining such massive fortifications would have required a sizable organized workforce, skilled in quarrying, transport, and masonry, yet evidence for such logistical infrastructure is sparse. How did a Bronze Age community marshal the resources, planning, and expertise to achieve what they did? Was it the result of incremental work over generations, or a coordinated effort by a society whose organizational capabilities we are only beginning to imagine? Beyond the practical, there is a subtle sense of intentionality embedded in the structures themselves. Some walls incorporate angled bastions and overlapping fields of fire, suggesting an advanced understanding of defensive strategy. Certain terraces and gates appear positioned not just for utility, but for psychological effect, creating confusion for attackers, controlling sightlines, and imposing a sense of scale and authority. Could this level of sophistication reflect the transfer of knowledge from a lost culture, or simply the ingenuity of an isolated Bronze Age population responding to environmental pressures? Speculative theories linger at the edges of mainstream interpretation. A few researchers propose that settlements like La Bastida were not merely defensive centers, but ceremonial or symbolic spaces as well, encoded with cultural meaning beyond the practical. Others suggest that some construction techniques, stone cutting, precise alignment, and weight distribution, may have relied on skills or tools now lost to history, echoing similar enigmas observed at sites like Samaipata or Marcahuasi. While evidence is circumstantial, the impossibility of perfectly replicating certain methods using Bronze Age technology invites reflection. Even today, as archaeologists continue to map and study La Bastida, unanswered questions abound. Sections of walls remain partially buried or eroded, hiding details that could shed light on construction methods or settlement life. Artifacts recovered, pottery, tools, and ornaments, offer glimpses into daily life, trade, and culture, yet they answer few of the larger questions about how and why the settlement was built with such precision. Standing atop the hill, looking down over terraces and walls shaped millennia ago, the scale and sophistication of La Bastida is undeniable. The stones speak of human effort, coordination, and vision, but also of knowledge and technique that challenges modern assumptions about Bronze Age capabilities. Were these fortifications the product of incremental ingenuity, honed over generations, or did they encode methods and strategies now lost to time? And if some techniques cannot be replicated today, what does that imply about the skills, understanding, or traditions of those who first built this extraordinary defensive network? La Bastida remains silent, its stone walls guarding not just the past, but the enduring question of human possibility. How did they do it? And what other secrets might still lie buried in the terraces and foundations of this enigmatic fortress? From the rugged terraces and fortifications of La Bastida, where Bronze Age ingenuity etched defensive mastery into the landscape, our journey now turns to a far older civilization, whose mastery of stone transcends both time and culture. Thousands of miles away, along the arid banks of the Nile, the cliffs of Beni Hasan rise in solemn silence, guarding secrets carved into rock more than 4 millennia ago. Here, in the heart of Middle Egypt, the dead were not laid to rest in simple graves, but in tombs meticulously cut into sheer limestone cliffs, monuments that continue to confound scholars with their scale, precision, and enigmatic artistry. The rock-cut tombs of Beni Hasan stretch along the eastern cliffs overlooking the Nile Valley, a series of portals, corridors, and burial chambers that seem to emerge organically from the stone. From a distance, the cliffs appear untouched, natural, and unremarkable, yet upon closer inspection, the hand of human ingenuity becomes undeniable. Facades rise with geometric perfection, columns and niches echo architectural sophistication, and stairways descend into shadows that have witnessed the passage of thousands of years. The entrances are often adorned with painted reliefs depicting scenes of daily life, military campaigns, and ritual, their colors faint but enduring, preserved by the desert's dry embrace. Archaeologists attribute the tombs to the Middle Kingdom period, roughly 2000 to 1700 BCE, built primarily for the provincial elite of the Oryx nome. These were men of power, officials who administered the region on behalf of the pharaoh, yet their tombs convey far more than rank or wealth. Each space is meticulously planned, hallways aligned with astronomical points, chambers proportioned with surprising mathematical regularity, and reliefs that capture movement, narrative, and hierarchy with clarity rarely matched in later Egyptian art. Mainstream scholarship emphasizes the cultural and religious significance of these tombs. The Egyptians believed that the afterlife was a mirror of the living world, a realm where status, sustenance, and memory must be preserved. Tombs were thus not mere repositories for the dead, but carefully orchestrated environments designed to ensure safe passage and eternal continuity. Carving into solid rock was practical, offering durability against both time and human interference. Yet, when the craftsmanship is examined closely, practical explanations begin to blur with questions that challenge comprehension. The precision of the cut stone is astonishing. Corridors are straight over long distances, walls meet at perfect right angles, and ceilings maintain consistent height and flatness, accomplished without modern surveying tools or measuring devices. Columns are balanced and fluted, bearing no evidence of structural compromise. Reliefs and inscriptions are carved deeply and evenly, their lines sharp, their proportions mathematically consistent. Scholars have attempted to replicate similar work using the tools of the period, copper chisels, stone hammers, and simple leveling techniques. And while some aspects are achievable, the consistency and scale of Beni Hasan's tombs continue to baffle even the most skilled experimental archaeologists. The tomb's orientation also raises questions. Many are aligned to cardinal points or celestial events, a detail that may have held religious or symbolic importance, yet the exact methods used to achieve such precision remain unknown. Without instruments capable of precise measurement, how did Middle Kingdom craftsmen achieve such alignment consistently across multiple tombs along the cliffs? Were they using a lost surveying method, a system of observation passed down through generations, or something altogether more sophisticated? Equally puzzling is the speed with which the tombs were constructed. Some tombs contain multiple chambers, corridors, and intricately carved reliefs, yet historical records suggest that many officials' tenures were relatively short. The labor required, the skill level, and the coordination of workers, artisans, and painters indicate a society capable of exceptional organization. But does that fully explain the level of precision achieved without mechanical advantage? Beyond technical mastery, the tombs convey a narrative that invites interpretation. Reliefs depict wrestlers, hunters, boats on the Nile, and scenes of daily work. But some images appear almost abstract, with patterns and proportions that hint at a symbolic system we do not fully understand. Certain motifs repeat across tombs, suggesting shared knowledge or codified meaning. Could these patterns hold information beyond the symbolic, mathematical, architectural, or even astronomical knowledge preserved in stone? Speculative theories linger on the margins of mainstream interpretation. A few researchers have suggested that the tomb's precision and consistency reflect techniques or tools that are no longer known, a level of craftsmanship that may have relied on lost technologies or methods refined over centuries. Others point to the alignment, proportion, and execution as evidence of advanced knowledge in surveying, geometry, or even astronomy that challenges assumptions about Middle Kingdom capabilities. While these ideas remain conjectural, the impossibility of replicating certain features with contemporary Bronze Age techniques leaves a lingering sense of wonder. Even today, parts of Beni Hasan remain unexplored, buried under centuries of sand and debris, or eroded by wind and occasional flood. Tombs that were once hidden are still being uncovered, revealing new reliefs, inscriptions, and structural nuances that prompt fresh questions. How many secrets remain concealed within the cliffs? Were some chambers intended for ritual purposes beyond burial, their meanings lost to history? And if the techniques used to carve and decorate these tombs cannot be fully reproduced today, what does that reveal about the capabilities, knowledge, or worldview of the artisans who labored here? Standing before the sun-bleached limestone, tracing the lines of walls and corridors with one's gaze, it is difficult not to feel a quiet awe. The rock-cut tombs of Beni Hasan speak across millennia, not in words, but in stone and shadow, in proportions and angles, in reliefs that capture both life and ritual with enduring clarity. They challenge us to consider the ingenuity of the human mind, the labor of countless unseen hands, and the mysteries that survive long after the civilizations that built them have passed. And so the questions remain. How were these tombs cut with such precision? What knowledge guided the hands of the artisans? And what stories, what secrets, might still lie hidden in the cliffs of Beni Hasan, waiting for those who come seeking answers millennia later? The tombs endure as both monument and mystery, a testament to human skill, vision, and the enduring enigmas of the ancient world. From the sun-bleached limestone cliffs of Beni Hasan, where ancient Egyptians carved the echoes of life and death into solid rock, our journey now moves eastward to a distant land of dense forests, hidden waterways, and humid air. Cambodia. Here, among tangled roots and shifting shadows, lie the ruins of Sambor Prei, a complex of brick temples that whisper of a civilization whose architectural and engineering feats remain as perplexing today as they were over a millennium ago. Unlike the precision-cut tombs of the Nile, these temples rise from the earth in warm red hues, their bricks assembled with a skill that defies easy explanation. Sambor Prei is set within the forests of northern Cambodia, its temples spread across a gentle plain interwoven with small streams and ponds. The site consists of hundreds of structures, the earliest of which date back to the 6th and 7th centuries CE, belonging to the pre-Angkorian Chenla kingdom. As explorers and archaeologists approach, the complex unfolds slowly, like pages of a forgotten manuscript. The central temples, known as the Ishanapura group, are laid out in symmetrical patterns, each surrounded by moats, enclosures, and concentric galleries. The weathered bricks glow in shades of deep red and brown, and carvings of mythical beings, deities, and intricate geometric designs appear faintly on lintels, doorways, and pilasters. Scholars agree that Sambor Prei served as both a religious center and a political hub, consolidating power while honoring deities of the Hindu pantheon. Yet, even within this conventional understanding, the methods used to construct these temples provoke questions. The bricks themselves are remarkably uniform in size, shape, and composition, suggesting a standardized production process far more advanced than what might be expected for the period. Many of the bricks are fused with an unusual type of mortar, resilient to humidity and tropical decay, raising debates among researchers about the exact materials and techniques employed. How did builders ensure both durability and consistency in such a challenging environment, where heavy rainfall and plant growth could easily compromise construction? Equally intriguing is the alignment and geometry of the temples. Structures are laid out in precise grids, with cardinal orientation and symmetrical spacing that hint at intentional planning. Some scholars propose that the layout reflects ritual cosmology, with the temples symbolically representing elements of the universe or aligning with celestial events. Others suggest practical reasoning, managing water flow, defense, or communal organization. Yet the seamless integration of form, function, and symbolism hints at a level of architectural understanding and surveying capability that remains difficult to fully replicate using only the tools known to the Chenla culture. The temple's decorative elements amplify the mystery. Carvings are intricate and delicate, often depicting motifs that blend natural forms with abstract, almost mathematical designs. Some reliefs are so finely detailed that they seem impossible to achieve consistently without specialized tools, training, or methods that have not survived in the historical record. Evidence of restoration and maintenance over the centuries shows that these structures were valued, yet the original techniques remain largely enigmatic. How were these artisans able to achieve such uniformity in brick size, precise alignment of entire complexes, and detailed carvings, all in a forested, humid environment that actively works against preservation? Another layer of complexity emerges when considering the sheer scale of the site. Sambor Prei is not a single temple but a network of hundreds of buildings, some still partially buried under centuries of soil, vegetation, and silt. The coordination of labor, materials, and construction sequences across this vast area implies a society with remarkable administrative capacity. Transporting bricks, sculpting them, and assembling them into durable, elevated structures required not just manpower, but advanced planning and knowledge of engineering principles. Was this knowledge developed independently within the Chenla kingdom, or was it inherited, refined, or influenced by a lost tradition whose methods we have not yet fully comprehended? Speculative theories arise at the edges of mainstream archaeology. Some researchers have proposed that the bricks themselves might have been produced using techniques that included organic additives or other binding agents lost to history, giving them durability beyond normal expectations. Others suggest that the alignment of the temples and the proportional relationships between structures encode knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, or cosmology, encoded in a language of brick and space, meant to endure long after the builders themselves had passed. Though these theories remain unproven, the very impossibility of fully replicating the techniques of Sambor Prei with modern methods invites reflection. Even today, parts of the complex remain inaccessible, hidden beneath dense undergrowth or eroded by centuries of monsoon rains. Excavation continues, and with each new discovery, whether a previously unknown temple foundation, a fragment of decorative brickwork, or evidence of water management, questions multiply. How much of the site's original knowledge and intent has survived? Were these temples designed purely for ritual and governance, or do they encode information, practices, or philosophies that have been lost to time? Standing among the red bricks, tracing the weathered carvings with the eye, one cannot help but sense both human achievement and enduring mystery. Sambor Prei testifies to the ingenuity of its builders, their ability to manipulate materials, design complex urban and religious spaces, and leave structures that withstand centuries of decay. Yet at the same time, the site challenges assumptions about technological limitations and lost techniques, leaving an open question hanging in the humid air. How did they do it? And as the forest hums quietly around the ruins, sending shafts of light across stone lintels and carved friezes, it is impossible not to wonder what else lies buried, obscured, or forgotten. What knowledge, artistry, and skill have yet to be rediscovered within these temples? And if replication proves nearly impossible today, what does that reveal about the civilization that once shaped the earth and brick into forms of enduring wonder? Sambor Prei endures as a place of reverence, craftsmanship, and unanswered questions, a vivid reminder that even in the jungles of Cambodia, humanity's capacity for architectural mystery stretches beyond what we can yet fully grasp. From the dense forests and red brick sanctuaries of Sambor Prei, where human hands molded earth and clay into enduring expressions of faith and authority, our journey now moves westward to the sun-scorched deserts of the Levant. Here, in the heart of ancient Phoenicia, rise the remnants of the Temple of Baal, grand, imposing, and enigmatic, a structure whose scale, engineering, and historical significance continue to challenge modern understanding. Even in ruins, the temple's stones convey a story of devotion, craftsmanship, and mystery that transcends time, inviting us to consider the knowledge and skill of a civilization long past. The Temple of Baal once dominated the city of Baalbek, located in what is now modern-day Lebanon. The site stretches across a plateau in the Bekaa Valley, framed by distant mountains and fertile plains below. From afar, the remnants appear almost otherworldly. Colossal stone blocks, some weighing hundreds of tons, lie in carefully arranged rows, forming the foundations of a structure that was once among the largest religious complexes of the ancient world. Massive columns, intricately fluted and topped with Corinthian capitals, rise in ghostly verticality, their height and scale difficult to reconcile with the tools and techniques known to the builders of the time. Archaeologists attribute the Temple of Baal, also known as the Temple of Jupiter, primarily to Roman construction during the 1st century BCE and CE. Yet, evidence suggests that the site had significance long before Roman involvement, with earlier foundations dating back to the Phoenician and Hellenistic periods. The Romans may have completed what earlier civilizations had begun, imposing their architectural vision upon a sacred landscape already imbued with spiritual meaning. This layering of history, of hands building atop hands, adds to the sense of awe and mystery that surrounds Baalbek. Mainstream scholarship explains the temple's construction as a product of extraordinary Roman engineering. Large-scale stone transportation, lifting mechanisms, and precise alignment were reportedly employed to position the colossal blocks. Some of these blocks, particularly those in the subterranean platform known as the Trilithon, weigh an estimated 800 to 1,200 tons, an astounding figure by any measure. Traditional theories suggest that levers, ramps, and sheer manpower allowed the ancients to move and place these stones, yet the mechanics remain debated. How could civilizations without modern cranes or machinery manipulate objects of such mass with such precision, especially over uneven terrain and into perfectly aligned positions? The site itself further complicates explanation. The temple complex covers an extensive area, featuring multiple platforms, courtyards, and surrounding structures that align with ceremonial pathways and possibly celestial markers. The orientation of the complex, its proportional harmony, and the way massive stones interlock with remarkable precision suggest not only physical prowess but sophisticated planning and understanding of geometry. Some researchers note that the scale and positioning of the stones seem intentionally monumental, designed to inspire awe, demonstrate power, or even communicate knowledge of engineering principles that exceed expectations for the period. Adding to the intrigue is the sheer size and quality of the individual stones. Many are cut with near-perfect flatness, smooth edges, and uniform dimensions, yet display minimal tool marks. The level of craftsmanship suggests highly skilled labor, perhaps guided by lost methods of measurement, surveying, or cutting now unfamiliar to modern builders. Could some of the techniques employed at Baalbek reflect knowledge inherited from a previous, undocumented civilization? Or are they the product of iterative refinement over centuries? Speculative interpretations linger around the site, fueled by its scale, mystery, and apparent impossibility. Some theorists suggest that Baalbek may preserve the memory or techniques of a pre-Roman civilization, capable of handling massive stones with precision lost to time. Others note the possible astronomical alignment of certain structures, proposing that the site encoded knowledge of solstices, equinoxes, or celestial observation. While these ideas remain controversial, they underscore the difficulty of fully explaining the engineering and symbolic complexity of the temple using conventional historical models. Even today, large portions of Baalbek remain partially buried, damaged by earthquakes, or hidden beneath centuries of later construction. Archaeological efforts continue, uncovering new insights into the layout, construction methods, and ceremonial functions of the temple. Yet the more that is discovered, the more questions emerge. How were stones of such weight lifted and positioned with such precision? What symbolic, religious, or scientific knowledge might have guided the placement of each column, block, and courtyard? And if modern engineers struggle to replicate these feats with contemporary tools, what does that reveal about the technical and organizational capabilities of the ancient builders? Standing amidst the ruins, the scale and ambition of the Temple of Baal becomes almost overwhelming. Colossal stones stretch in rows that seem to defy gravity. Empty column shafts reach skyward, still commanding reverence despite centuries of decay. The human effort required to conceive, quarry, transport, and assemble such a structure speaks to a civilization of remarkable vision, skill, and determination. Yet, even in acknowledging that, the mystery persists. The Temple of Baal challenges our understanding of ancient architecture and engineering, leaving an open question that lingers in the desert air. How was it done, and what knowledge guided these massive hands? Are the secrets of its construction lost forever, or might future discoveries illuminate methods, tools, or understanding that once made the impossible possible? As the sun sets over the Bekaa Valley, casting long shadows across these ancient stones, the temple endures, silent, monumental, and enigmatic, inviting us to wonder not just at what was built, but at what remains beyond our comprehension. From the monumental stones of Baalbek, where human ambition reached heights that challenge modern engineering, our journey turns northward, across oceans and centuries, to the misty hills of Ireland. Here, among rolling farmland and wind-swept summits, lie the Loughcrew Cairns, ancient burial mounds carved into stone, whose age, alignment, and artistry continue to intrigue archaeologists and visitors alike. Unlike the massive columns of Baalbek or the red bricks of Sambor Prei, Loughcrew speaks in a subtler tongue. In carved rock surfaces, celestial alignments, and the quiet persistence of structures shaped thousands of years ago, still holding secrets the living can barely touch. Perched atop a ridge overlooking the valleys of County Meath, the Loughcrew Cairns appear, at first glance, as simple grassy mounds, almost unremarkable against the Irish landscape. Yet beneath this modest exterior lies a network of passage tombs, chambers, and carved stones, some dating back to 3,500 BCE, placing them among the earliest Neolithic constructions in Europe. The largest and most famous of these, Cairn T, is an oblong mound housing a long, narrow passage leading to an inner chamber where carved stones bear intricate motifs, spirals, lozenges, and other geometric designs whose meaning remains elusive. Archaeologists consider these cairns part of the broader tradition of passage tombs in Ireland, which includes sites like Newgrange and Knowth. The tombs served as burial spaces for a small, ritualistically significant portion of society, and the carvings may have held symbolic, spiritual, or cosmological meaning. Yet the craftsmanship and the precision of their construction continue to inspire both admiration and puzzlement. The inner chambers are aligned with remarkable accuracy to the rising sun on the spring and autumn equinoxes, flooding the carvings with golden light for a brief moment each year. This alignment suggests a sophisticated understanding of solar movement and celestial cycles, achieved without modern instruments, calendars, or written records. The stones themselves tell a story of labor and knowledge that is difficult to replicate. Massive slabs of local and imported stone were transported to the site, some from several kilometers away, and set into place with precision to form corridors, corbelled roofs, and supporting walls that have endured for over 5 millennia. The carvings on the stones are subtle, yet intricate, their lines precise, flowing, and deep enough to survive centuries of weathering. The recurring patterns, spirals, concentric circles, and interconnected motifs appear deliberate, and some suggest mathematical understanding or symbolic codification beyond purely decorative intent. Even the orientation of the cairns raises questions. Cairn T, for example, is angled so that at the equinox sunrise, sunlight penetrates the narrow passage to illuminate the farthest wall of the chamber. Achieving this effect would have required careful observation of the sun over months or even years, combined with precise construction planning and execution. How exactly did Neolithic builders achieve such accuracy with only rudimentary tools and an observational understanding of astronomy? And why choose this specific alignment? Was it purely ceremonial, a way to mark seasonal cycles, or part of a broader symbolic or ritual purpose now lost to time? The carvings themselves offer an additional layer of intrigue. Spirals and lozenges dominate the walls, yet their purpose is far from certain. Some researchers argue they may represent life cycles, natural phenomena, or spiritual concepts. Others speculate they encode information about lunar or solar patterns. Unlike later artistic traditions, there is no surviving cultural key to interpret the motifs, leaving their exact meaning enigmatic. And the technical skill required to carve these designs into hard stone with sharp, deep grooves and consistent spacing speaks to a knowledge of tools, leverage, and technique that remains largely speculative. Could the builders have possessed methods now forgotten, enabling them to achieve a level of precision difficult even for modern craftsmen? Loughcrew also presents a mystery of scale and coordination. The mounds were not constructed overnight. They required extensive labor, planning, and community effort. How did a society without centralized bureaucracy, written records, or complex machinery coordinate such projects? How did they transport and lift stones weighing several tons to create chambers that are structurally sound, aligned with the sun, and adorned with enduring carvings? The answers remain uncertain, and experimental archaeology has struggled to fully replicate the combination of precision, alignment, and artistry seen at Loughcrew. Speculative interpretations have emerged alongside mainstream research. Some propose that the cairns' alignments reflect a lost system of cosmological knowledge, perhaps tied to observation of stars, planetary cycles, or agricultural seasons. Others suggest that the carvings encode information beyond ritual, a proto-language or symbolic system intended to preserve knowledge across generations. While these theories cannot be proven, the impossibility of fully reproducing such feats with available Neolithic tools invites reflection on what knowledge may have been lost and what sophistication early societies might have achieved. Even today, the site holds undiscovered secrets. Erosion, vegetation, and centuries of human activity obscure parts of the mounds and chambers, while ongoing archaeological investigation continues to reveal faint carvings, construction techniques, and subtle alignments that hint at more complex knowledge than previously understood. Each discovery reinforces the sense that Loughcrew was not merely a burial site, but a carefully designed interface between earth, sky, and human intention. Standing atop the ridge, with the Irish wind sweeping across grassy mounds, the Loughcrew Cairns invite contemplation. Their stones endure, unyielding to time, holding mysteries that bridge thousands of years. They speak of human skill, observation, and symbolic thinking, but they also speak of what is unknown, of knowledge and methods now lost to history. How did these Neolithic builders achieve such precision and alignment? What stories, knowledge, or rituals remain hidden in the carvings? For those who visit today, the Loughcrew Cairns remain as they have been for millennia, quiet, enigmatic, and unreplicable. They remind us that even in societies long before writing, sophisticated thought, observational skill, and extraordinary craftsmanship could produce works that continue to awe, inspire, and mystify. And as sunlight pierces the chamber at the equinox, illuminating ancient carvings in a fleeting moment of brilliance, one cannot help but wonder, what else is waiting to be discovered in the stones of Loughcrew, and what secrets about the past do they still guard silently across the ages? From the mist-laden hills of Loughcrew, where sunlight briefly illuminates Neolithic carvings aligned with the equinox, our journey continues westward across the ancient landscapes of England. Here, in the undulating chalklands of Wiltshire, stands the West Kennet Long Barrow, an imposing Neolithic monument that has silently watched over the countryside for more than 5 millennia. Unlike the intricate stone chambers of Loughcrew, this barrow presents itself as a vast, elongated mound of earth and stone, its simplicity belying the extraordinary precision, planning, and ritual significance embedded within its construction. Rising nearly 100 meters in length and over 2 meters in height, West Kennet Long Barrow dominates the gently rolling terrain, its elongated silhouette clearly visible from a distance. Approaching the site, the mound's scale becomes more impressive, and the subtle details of its construction emerge. Massive sarsen stones line the interior chambers, while the mound itself is carefully composed of earth, chalk, and smaller stones. The barrow contains a series of burial chambers, each accessible via narrow passages, where the remains of the dead were placed in careful sequence. Carved stones, though less ornate than those at Loughcrew, hint at deliberate placement and symbolic intention, raising questions about the knowledge and methods of the builders. Archaeologists date West Kennet to around 3650 BCE, making it one of the earliest and largest long barrows in Britain. Excavations have revealed the remains of more than 40 individuals, placed within multiple chambers over several generations. Some bones show signs of ceremonial treatment, suggesting a complex system of ritual observance intertwined with burial practices. The barrow's construction demonstrates remarkable planning. Its orientation, layout, and chamber placement appear intentional, possibly aligned with the sunrise of the winter solstice, a design that mirrors the builder's observation of celestial cycles and natural rhythms. The technical challenges of West Kennet are immediately apparent. Large sarsen stones, some weighing several tons, were quarried from nearby sources and transported to the site, a formidable task in an era without wheeled vehicles or draft animals capable of such loads. Once on site, the stones were positioned to create chambers with stability, enduring weight, and precise spacing. Even with experimental archaeology, replicating the transport and assembly of these massive stones with Neolithic technology remains an extraordinary challenge. How did these early builders move such massive stones across uneven terrain? And what techniques did they employ to ensure structural integrity over thousands of years? The design of West Kennet also reflects careful consideration of spatial relationships. The chambers are spaced sequentially along the mound's length, creating a rhythm of passage, enclosure, and revelation as one moves through the structure. Some scholars suggest that the arrangement mirrors social or spiritual hierarchies, with the central chamber potentially reserved for the most important individuals. Others propose symbolic interpretations, that the passage and chambers may have represented a journey from life to death, from earth to sky, or from the physical world to the ancestral realm. Yet without written records, the true intentions remain speculative, leaving room for wonder about the cultural, spiritual, and astronomical knowledge embedded in the mound's design. The Barrow's orientation is one of its most compelling enigmas. West Kennet aligns roughly along an east-west axis, leading some researchers to suggest solar significance, potentially marking the rising or setting sun during key seasonal events. Observing such alignments would have required careful monitoring over years, combined with sophisticated planning to translate celestial observations into precise construction. Was this alignment a practical marker of seasonal change, a ritualistic observance, or a symbolic statement intended to connect the living with the cosmic order? Speculative theories also consider the broader context of the site. West Kennet is part of a landscape rich with prehistoric monuments, including Avebury and Silbury Hill. The density and alignment of these sites suggest a shared understanding of geography, astronomy, and sacred space among Neolithic communities. Some researchers have posited that the builders of West Kennet had a knowledge of surveying and planning that, while achievable with basic tools, reflects remarkable foresight and collective organization. Could this knowledge have been passed down from earlier generations? Or might it hint at lost techniques that allowed for the precise placement of massive stones and careful orientation of ceremonial spaces? Even today, the Barrow continues to reveal subtle mysteries. Weathering, erosion, and centuries of human activity have altered the surface, yet the structure endures, its chambers still intact and accessible. Archaeological surveys and non-invasive imaging techniques have uncovered traces of previously hidden features. Small stones, pits, and alignments that may have been part of original construction phases or ritual use. Each discovery adds depth to our understanding while simultaneously raising new questions about the scale, purpose, and methods of this enduring monument. Standing atop the mound, gazing across the Wiltshire landscape, one is struck by the human effort, skill, and vision required to create West Kennet Long Barrow. The stones, the earthworks, and the subtle alignments speak not only of funerary practice, but of a society capable of complex planning, precise observation, and communal coordination. Yet the questions remain. How were these massive stones moved, arranged, and integrated with such precision? What rituals, beliefs, or knowledge guided the construction? And if modern attempts struggle to fully replicate these feats, what does that suggest about the sophistication of Neolithic communities and the techniques they employed? West Kennet Long Barrow endures as both monument and mystery, a silent sentinel of human ingenuity, observation, and devotion. It reminds us that even in prehistoric times, societies were capable of creating structures that harmonize with the landscape, celestial cycles, and social purpose, yet challenge our assumptions about the limits of their technology. And as the sun rises or sets along its axis, illuminating chambers that have not felt direct light for millennia, one cannot help but wonder what other secrets remain hidden within the mound. Secrets of construction, knowledge, and ritual that, like the stones themselves, have stood the test of time. From the chalky mounds of West Kennet, where Neolithic hands shaped earth and stone into enduring ceremonial chambers aligned with the sun, our journey now shifts southward to the sun-washed hills of Portugal. Here, perched on a rocky promontory overlooking fertile plains, lies the Zambujal Fortified complex, an extraordinary settlement whose scale, construction, and strategic design continue to intrigue archaeologists. Unlike the long barrows of Wiltshire, Zambujal was not a tomb, but a living, fortified city, its walls, streets, and terraces reflecting a level of planning and organization that challenges conventional understanding of Bronze Age communities. From a distance, Zambujal appears as a cluster of irregular terraces rising in steps along the hill's slope, each dominated by imposing stone ramparts and angular enclosures. The fortifications are immediately striking, massive walls of limestone blocks, some shaped with surprising regularity, encircle the complex, creating multiple defensive layers. Narrow entrances, projecting bastions, and elevated platforms suggest careful control over access and visibility, a deliberate manipulation of the terrain to maximize defensive advantage. The site's layout, sprawling over several hectares, conveys both practical sophistication and a sense of purpose that transcends mere survival. Archaeological excavations date Zambujal to the late Neolithic and Chalcolithic periods, around 3000 to 2000 BCE, with later Bronze Age modifications. The site was a hub of activity, home to a complex society engaged in agriculture, trade, and metallurgy. Within its walls, archaeologists have uncovered remains of houses, communal spaces, storage areas, and intricate drainage systems, indicating advanced understanding of urban planning and resource management. Yet the features that most capture attention are the defensive structures themselves, the walls, terraces, and gates, whose scale and construction techniques continue to spark questions. The walls of Zambujal are built from massive limestone blocks, fitted together with impressive precision. Some stones weigh several tons, and their placement required careful planning, strength, and coordination. Unlike later fortified settlements, there is little evidence of mortar, suggesting that stability was achieved through exacting alignment and the sheer weight of the stones. Experimental archaeology has attempted to replicate such walls using contemporary Bronze Age tools, yet the effort highlights just how demanding the construction would have been. How did a society without cranes, wheeled vehicles capable of heavy lifting, or metal tools of sufficient strength transport position and secure these stones with such consistency and scale? The site's terraces add another layer of mystery. Zambujal is not a single flat settlement, but a series of stepped platforms, each serving distinct functional and strategic purposes. Some terraces support living spaces and storage areas. Others form part of the fortifications, while still others appear to have been designed for ceremonial or communal activity. The terraces follow the natural contours of the hill, yet the precision with which they were leveled and aligned suggests careful surveying and planning. Was this sophistication born purely from trial and error over generations? Or did the builders possess techniques and knowledge that allowed them to manipulate the landscape with unusual accuracy for the period? Gates and entrances at Zambujal demonstrate a subtle understanding of defense and control. Narrow, angled corridors force movement along predictable paths, while projecting walls create overlapping lines of observation and defense. Some scholars suggest that these features were designed not only to repel invaders, but also to regulate the flow of people, animals, and goods within the settlement. The ingenuity of these design choices hints at an advanced societal structure, capable of long-term planning and coordination on a scale difficult to imagine for a Bronze Age community. Speculative theories surrounding Zambujal focus on the apparent impossibility of replicating the construction techniques. Some suggest that the precision of stone placement and terrace alignment reflects knowledge of surveying or engineering that has been lost to time. Others propose that the fortifications were not solely defensive but may have encoded symbolic or ritual meaning, perhaps serving as a manifestation of social hierarchy or cosmological understanding. While these ideas remain speculative, they underscore the challenge of explaining how a pre-literate society achieved such technical and architectural sophistication. Further intrigue arises when considering the labor and resources required. Moving massive stones, carving terraces, and constructing walls would have demanded a highly organized workforce, capable of coordinated effort over years or even decades. Archaeological evidence hints at a complex social structure, yet much remains uncertain. How were materials sourced, quarried, and transported with limited technology? How were workers organized, fed, and motivated? And if these feats required knowledge or methods that cannot be fully replicated today, what does that imply about the skills and understanding of Zambujal's inhabitants? Even now, parts of the site remain partially buried or eroded, with terraces and walls hidden beneath centuries of soil and vegetation. New excavations continue to uncover details that challenge assumptions, subtle construction methods, traces of advanced metallurgy, and evidence of trade networks extending beyond the local region. Each discovery adds nuance to our understanding, while simultaneously reinforcing the sense that Zambujal preserves mysteries beyond immediate comprehension. Standing atop the highest terrace, surveying the layered walls and sprawling enclosures, it is impossible not to feel the weight of human ingenuity and the lingering question of possibility. Zambujal Fortified Complex speaks to a society capable of monumental construction, precise planning, and sophisticated social organization. Yet it also challenges modern assumptions about what Bronze Age communities could achieve with the tools and knowledge available to them. And so the questions endure. How were these terraces carved and leveled with such precision? How were massive stones moved, fitted, and stabilized without modern machinery? What knowledge, practical, ceremonial, or symbolic, guided every wall, gate, and passage? Zambujal remains both a testament to human skill and a puzzle that resists complete explanation, inviting reflection on the extraordinary capabilities of our ancestors and the mysteries they have left behind, silently preserved in stone. From the terraced fortifications of Zambujal, where Bronze Age builders carved stones into enduring walls and terraces that defy replication, our journey now moves southward across the Red Sea to the highlands of Ethiopia. Here, atop a plateau surrounded by rolling hills and arid valleys, stands the Yeha Great Temple, an extraordinary structure whose scale, precision, and architectural sophistication continue to confound historians and archaeologists alike. Unlike the defensive enclosures of Zambujal, Yeha speaks in a language of ritual and devotion. Its massive stone blocks, soaring pillars, and mysterious inscriptions offering a glimpse into a civilization whose achievements remain difficult to fully explain. Approaching Yeha, the first impression is one of monumental scale and quiet authority. The temple sits atop a natural rise, commanding sweeping views of the surrounding landscape, as if it were designed to dominate both earth and sky. Its walls are constructed from massive stone blocks, carefully dressed and fitted together with remarkable precision, forming a structure that has survived centuries of seismic activity and harsh weather. At the center rises a series of pillars and platforms, their height and alignment creating a sense of deliberate grandeur, while smaller adjacent structures suggest spaces for ceremonial activity, administration, or gatherings. Archaeologists date Yeha to at least the 8th century BCE, making it one of the oldest monumental stone structures in sub-Saharan Africa. It is often attributed to the Sabaean influence in the region, suggesting connections with early South Arabian civilizations, yet local Ethiopian culture shaped much of its identity. The temple is thought to have been dedicated to a solar deity or other celestial worship, serving as both a religious center and a symbol of political authority. Inscriptions found in the South Arabian script hint at trade, diplomacy, and cultural exchange, yet the true significance of these writings and their precise meaning remains partially elusive. The technical aspects of Yeha's construction are particularly striking. Massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, were quarried, transported, and positioned with such precision that the walls align with minimal gaps, and the entire structure retains stability without the use of mortar. The pillars are proportioned with careful attention to both load-bearing function and visual harmony. Experimental archaeology has shown that while moving and placing individual stones is theoretically possible with simple tools, replicating the full scale, alignment, and enduring stability of the temple remains exceedingly difficult. How were these massive stones raised and positioned so accurately without cranes, pulleys, or other lifting technologies familiar to later civilizations? The temple's design also demonstrates sophisticated spatial planning. The central hall, flanked by pillars and elevated on a platform, creates a sense of processional movement, guiding visitors along a deliberate path. Doorways and niches are placed with symmetrical care, while certain alignments appear to correspond with solar phenomena, suggesting an awareness of celestial cycles. Some scholars have proposed that the temple's orientation allowed sunlight to illuminate specific areas during solstices or equinoxes. Yet the precision required for such an effect raises further questions about the builder's astronomical knowledge and surveying methods. Equally intriguing are the inscriptions and decorative elements found on the stones. South Arabian script and abstract motifs, carefully carved into walls and pillars, convey symbolic meaning that may have encompassed religious devotion, political messages, or historical record-keeping. The precision and clarity of the carvings, their durability over centuries, and their integration into massive stone blocks underscore a level of skill that remains difficult to replicate with tools thought available in the 8th century BCE. Were these artisans using techniques now lost to time? Did they possess knowledge of geometry, load distribution, or surveying that allowed them to integrate aesthetic, functional, and symbolic elements seamlessly? Speculative interpretations have emerged alongside mainstream explanations. Some researchers suggest that the temple preserves traditions and techniques inherited from even earlier, undocumented civilizations, a cultural memory embedded in stone. Others note the temple's combination of monumental scale, alignment, and intricate inscriptions as evidence of an advanced understanding of engineering, astronomy, and ritual architecture that challenges conventional assumptions about ancient societies in the region. While these ideas remain hypothetical, the difficulty of replicating the construction with modern methods highlights just how extraordinary the accomplishment truly is. The temple's enduring presence is also a testament to human adaptation and ingenuity. Constructed in a region prone to seismic activity, heavy seasonal rains, and environmental stress, Yeha has survived millennia without collapsing. The builders appear to have understood not only architectural principles, but also how to select, shape, and position materials to endure forces that could easily destabilize lesser structures. This enduring stability, combined with the monumental scale, suggests knowledge that went far beyond simple construction, extending into structural analysis and long-term planning. Even now, portions of Yeha remain partially obscured or damaged, while ongoing excavations continue to reveal new insights into the site's layout, construction methods, and use. Foundations, additional pillars, and remnants of adjacent buildings suggest a complex of activity beyond what is visible at first glance. Each discovery deepens appreciation for the temple's sophistication while raising new questions about the extent of knowledge and organization required to achieve such a feat. Standing before Yeha today, with the Ethiopian highlands stretching into the distance, one is struck by both its human craftsmanship and enduring mystery. The temple embodies not only religious devotion and social organization, but also engineering, geometry, and design that remain challenging to fully comprehend. How were massive stones quarried, transported, and fitted so precisely? What celestial, spiritual, or symbolic knowledge guided the alignment and orientation? And if the techniques used here cannot be fully replicated with our modern understanding, what does that reveal about the civilization that conceived and built this enduring monument? Yeha Great Temple remains silent, monumental, and enigmatic. Its walls, pillars, and inscriptions testify to extraordinary human skill and observation, yet they also pose questions that remain unanswered, inviting reflection on the ingenuity, knowledge, and mysteries of a civilization that flourished thousands of years ago. What secrets, what lost techniques, or what deeper meanings might still lie hidden within its stones waiting for the careful observer to discover? From the highlands of Ethiopia, where the Yeha Great Temple stands as a testament to engineering, astronomy, and devotion, our journey returns once more to the misty landscapes of Ireland, where human hands shaped the land in ways that continue to baffle modern researchers. Beyond the solitary cairns of Loughcrew and the ceremonial expanse of West Kennet lies Knowth, part of the ancient Brú na Bóinne complex, whose hidden passage mounds conceal mysteries both monumental and subtle, whispering secrets across more than 5 millennia. Unlike the open grandeur of Yeha, Knowth draws visitors into a labyrinth of earth, stone, and shadow, where meaning is encoded in alignment, construction, and the very act of passage itself. Knowth is not a single mound but a complex of over 20 passage tombs, all nestled within expansive earthen mounds and surrounded by smaller satellite structures. From a distance, these mounds appear as gentle grassy rises, their subtle outlines merging with the rolling fields of County Meath. Yet beneath this unassuming surface lies a carefully organized network of corridors, chambers, and intricately carved stones. The central mound, largest of them all, dominates the site with its sheer size, approximately 12 meters high and 67 meters in diameter, its interior passageways branching into multiple chambers whose entrances are concealed beneath earth and vegetation. Archaeologists date Knowth to around 3,200 BCE, contemporaneous with Newgrange and Douth, making it a Neolithic marvel of both scale and sophistication. The passage tombs are oriented with precise attention to the movements of the sun, moon, and possibly other celestial bodies. Some passages are aligned to capture light during equinoxes or solstices, illuminating the inner chambers in a fleeting display that demonstrates remarkable astronomical knowledge. The builders clearly understood the cycles of the heavens and translated this understanding into architectural design, yet the exact methods they used remain a subject of speculation. How could a community without written records or advanced instruments achieve such precision in both orientation and construction? The stones of Knowth are another source of enduring fascination. Unlike simple earthen mounds, the internal passages and chambers are framed with massive blocks of local stone, carefully fitted to form walls, ceilings, and corbelled roofs. Many of these stones bear carvings of spirals, lozenges, concentric circles, and other geometric motifs, executed with remarkable precision and consistency. The sheer volume of decorated stones is staggering. More than 1/3 of all known Neolithic megalithic art in Ireland is concentrated here. These carvings appear abstract yet deliberate, suggesting a symbolic system whose meaning has been lost to time. Were they purely decorative? Did they serve a ritualistic purpose? Or do they encode knowledge, mathematical, astronomical, or cultural, that we are only beginning to grasp? Perhaps the most enigmatic feature of Knowth lies not in the stones themselves, but in the hidden passages. Unlike the straightforward corridors of West Kennet or Loughcrew, Knowth's passages twist, branch, and in some cases lead to multiple chambers within a single mound. The construction of these passages required extraordinary planning. The stones had to be precisely shaped and positioned to ensure structural stability over millennia, while the internal layout had to accommodate ceremonial movement, burial practices, and symbolic alignment. Experimental archaeology has shown that replicating such passages using only Neolithic tools, stone hammers, antler picks, and wooden levers, would be extraordinarily labor-intensive, yet the builders executed the work with striking efficiency and enduring precision. How were these hidden corridors designed, surveyed, and constructed so effectively? The exterior of the mounds adds yet another layer of mystery. Knowth is ringed with a large number of curbstones, many carved with the same geometric motifs as those found inside the passages. These curbstones appear carefully placed, creating a deliberate interface between the mound and the surrounding landscape. Some scholars suggest that the curbstones may have had protective, symbolic, or ritual functions, marking the boundary between the living world and the sacred interior of the tombs. Others argue that the carvings reflect complex cosmological or societal knowledge, yet no consensus exists on their precise purpose. Were these decorations intended to convey meaning to initiates, to mark astronomical events, or simply to assert social power through monumental artistry? Speculative theories abound regarding Knowth's hidden passages and carvings. Some researchers propose that the branching corridors represent an early form of ritualized storytelling or memory preservation, with each chamber and carving symbolizing aspects of life, death, or the cosmos. Others note that the density and complexity of the carvings suggest a level of knowledge and cultural sophistication that surpasses what is often attributed to Neolithic societies. Certain alignments hint at intentional observation points for lunar and solar cycles, indicating that the builders may have been skilled astronomers who encoded their observations directly into the architecture. While these ideas remain speculative, the impossibility of fully replicating the construction using Neolithic techniques leaves a lingering sense of wonder. The labor and organization required to construct Knowth further deepen the mystery. Stones weighing several tons had to be quarried, transported across uneven terrain, and positioned with incredible precision. Earth had to be shaped into mounds capable of supporting corbelled chambers, while internal passages needed structural stability that has lasted over 5,000 years. Coordinating this effort would have required a highly organized workforce, knowledge of material properties, and an understanding of both human logistics and architectural principles. What system of planning, leadership, or communal knowledge enabled the Neolithic people to achieve such a feat? Even today, the mounds hold secrets yet to be fully uncovered. Portions of the interior passages remain partially obscured by earth, while ongoing archaeological surveys and remote sensing continue to reveal previously hidden features, pits, secondary chambers, and alignments that hint at further astronomical or ceremonial significance. Each new discovery expands our understanding while simultaneously reinforcing the sense that Knowth contains knowledge and methods now lost to time. Standing amidst the grassy mounds, tracing the carved spirals and wandering through the hidden passages, one feels the remarkable combination of human ingenuity, observation, and symbolic thinking that created Knowth. The site endures as both a functional burial space and a sophisticated cosmological map, challenging modern assumptions about the technological, organizational, and intellectual capabilities of Neolithic societies. And yet, the questions persist. How were these massive stones shaped and positioned with such precision? How were branching passages planned and executed without written records? What knowledge guided the orientation, carvings, and ceremonial layout of this monumental complex? If even modern engineers struggle to replicate the construction and alignments, what does that reveal about the capabilities and understanding of the Neolithic builders? The Hidden Passage. Mounds of Knowth remain silent, monumental, and enigmatic, their labyrinthine corridors and carved stones guarding secrets that have endured for millennia. They speak to the extraordinary skill, observation, and vision of a long-lost society. Yet they also leave open a question that continues to intrigue scholars, visitors, and seekers of the mysterious alike. What else lies hidden within these mounds, still beyond our comprehension, waiting to reveal the knowledge, rituals, or wisdom of a people who mastered the impossible? From the hidden passageways and carved corridors of Knowth, where sunlight illuminates spirals and lozenges in fleeting, equinoctial moments, our journey moves southwest across the European continent to the sun-drenched plains of southern Portugal. Here, amid gently rolling hills and scattered cork oaks, stand the shadowed Trilithons of Almendres, a megalithic complex whose silent stones whisper of human ambition, cosmic observation, and techniques that continue to elude modern replication. Unlike the subterranean passages of Knowth, Almendres presents itself above ground, yet its mysteries are equally profound, encoded in alignment, scale, and the sheer audacity of construction. The Almendres cromlech, often referred to as the Almendres megalithic complex, is dominated by hundreds of standing stones, with the most striking elements being the Trilithons, structures formed by two vertical megaliths supporting a horizontal capstone. From a distance, the site resembles a forest of weathered stones, their irregular shapes and towering heights casting long, shifting shadows across the earth. As one approaches, the scale becomes increasingly imposing. Some of the vertical stones rise over 4 meters, while the lintels, carefully balanced atop their supports, weigh multiple tons. The shadows these structures cast, shifting with the sun and seasons, hint at deliberate consideration of celestial light and its interplay with human perception. Archaeologists date the site to roughly 6,000 to 4,000 BCE, placing it among the oldest megalithic complexes in Europe. It is believed that Almendres served ritualistic, ceremonial, and possibly astronomical purposes, though its exact function remains uncertain. The Trilithons themselves stand in curved alignments and concentric patterns, suggesting intentional planning, measurement, and observation. Their orientation appears to correspond with solar events, such as solstices, while certain stones seem aligned to lunar cycles or notable horizon points. How the builders achieved such precise spatial organization with rudimentary tools remains an enduring question. Could they have possessed a lost system of measurement, geometry, or surveying that allowed them to manipulate megalithic scale and placement with such accuracy? The construction of the Trilithons presents immediate technical enigmas. Each vertical stone had to be quarried, transported, and erected, likely weighing several tons each, before the horizontal capstone could be lifted and balanced across them. Even today, such an endeavor would require cranes, pulleys, or other sophisticated lifting equipment. Yet evidence suggests that the builders relied solely on simple tools, wooden rollers, levers, ropes, and human labor. Experimental archaeology has replicated portions of this process only with great difficulty, highlighting the immense planning, coordination, and skill required. What techniques allowed them to hoist capstones with precision, ensuring structural stability that has lasted for thousands of years? The Trilithons are arranged across multiple terraces and concentric circles, their placement seemingly dictated by both topography and astronomical observation. Some stones form almost perfect arcs, while others create axes aligned with the sunrise or sunset at specific times of the year. The deliberate combination of geometry, scale, and environmental context suggests a level of sophistication that challenges assumptions about prehistoric societies. Did the builders understand not only the physical challenges of moving massive stones, but also the celestial cycles, and intentionally encode that knowledge into the monument's design? Adding to the intrigue are the smaller standing stones interspersed among the Trilithons. Some bear incised marks or cupules, small, deliberate depressions whose purpose is still debated. Were these marks symbolic, representing stars, deities, or ceremonial codes? Could they have functioned as reference points for observational practices, mapping the skies onto the earth in a ritualized landscape? The relationship between the Trilithons, smaller monoliths, and natural features such as hills and water sources suggests a deliberate integration of monument and environment, as though the builders intended the site to be both earthly and cosmic in significance. Speculative theories surrounding Almendres are as compelling as they are enigmatic. Some researchers argue that the site served as a prehistoric astronomical observatory, encoding solar and lunar cycles with remarkable precision. Others suggest ritualistic or spiritual functions, perhaps representing sacred gathering places where early communities performed ceremonies aligned with natural and celestial rhythms. The precise lifting, balancing, and placement of massive stones, combined with alignments that may track celestial events, raises questions about the technical knowledge, coordination, and cultural sophistication of the builders. Could Almendres reflect a lost tradition of megalithic engineering, a knowledge system that allowed humans to manipulate enormous stones in harmony with the cosmos? Labor and organization were undoubtedly critical. Moving multi-ton stones from quarries, positioning them upright, and raising capstones atop vertical supports would have required not only physical strength, but also advanced planning, understanding of leverage, and a system for coordinating teams of workers. The terraces and concentric layouts suggest forethought over extended periods, potentially spanning generations. How were such projects managed without written records, standardized measurements, or advanced machinery? The complexity of Almendres implies a society capable of remarkable engineering, social organization, and observational skill, yet the precise methods remain beyond our comprehension. Even today, shadows play across the Trilithons in ways that hint at astronomical design. At sunrise and sunset, particular alignments illuminate capstones, or cast shadows that trace arcs across the ground, perhaps reflecting a deliberate understanding of light, time, and the cyclical nature of the heavens. Non-invasive studies using modern surveying equipment continue to reveal previously unrecognized alignments, suggesting that Almendres may contain layers of meaning yet to be fully deciphered. Each stone, each shadow, seems to ask a question of the observer. What knowledge guided its placement, and what has been lost to time? Standing among the towering Trilithons, feeling the sun shift across weathered stone, one senses the combination of ambition, knowledge, and ritual intention embedded in this prehistoric landscape. Almendres speaks not just of human capability, but of a vision that integrates scale, environment, and cosmic observation, producing a monument that resists both erosion and full understanding. The sheer audacity of its construction, its careful alignments, and the weight of its stones compel reflection on the limits of human ingenuity and the mysteries that survive long after the builders have vanished. And yet, the questions remain. How were these massive stones quarried, moved, and positioned with such precision? What knowledge of astronomy, geometry, or engineering informed their placement? Were the alignments practical, ceremonial, symbolic, or all three? And if modern tools cannot fully replicate the construction or its intricate spatial relationships, what does that suggest about the skill, observation, and ingenuity of the people who shaped this landscape thousands of years ago? The shadowed Trilithons of Almendres endure, monumental and silent, their massive forms casting long shadows across the plains, waiting to be interpreted by the patient eye and the curious mind. They are at once human and otherworldly, practical and symbolic, inviting reflection on the extraordinary capabilities of our ancestors and the mysteries that remain hidden in plain sight. What secrets lie buried in the stone, the shadows, and the alignments of Almendres, still waiting for those who dare to observe closely enough to uncover them? From the sun-drenched plains of southern Portugal, where the shadowed Trilithons of Almendres rise in concentric arcs and cast shifting patterns across the earth, our journey now carries us south across the Mediterranean Sea to the small island of Malta. Here, amid rolling limestone hills and fertile valleys, lie the Skorba Temples, one of the earliest and most enigmatic megalithic complexes in the Maltese archipelago. Unlike the exposed Trilithons of Almendres or the subterranean passages of Knowth, Skorba is layered in time, its ruins preserving traces of continuous human activity that stretch back to the Neolithic, offering a glimpse into a civilization whose architectural and ritual achievements remain difficult, if not impossible, to replicate today. Approaching Skorba, the first impression is one of quiet permanence. The site sits on a low hill, overlooking fields that have been cultivated for millennia. At ground level, the remains of megalithic walls, upright stones, and partially excavated chambers hint at a complex originally much larger than what is visible today. The walls are constructed from massive limestone blocks, many of which have been carefully shaped and fitted without the use of mortar, a technique that allows the structure to endure despite centuries of weather, human activity, and natural erosion. Even in ruin, the layout conveys deliberate planning, suggesting spaces for ceremonial activity, communal gatherings, or ritual observances. Archaeologists date the earliest phase of Skorba to around 4500 BCE, placing it among the earliest known temple complexes on Malta. The site was occupied and modified over several millennia, reflecting continuous use from the Gar-Dalam culture through the Tarxian phase of Maltese prehistory. Within the partially excavated chambers, researchers have uncovered evidence of food storage, animal sacrifice, and ritual deposits, alongside small carved stones and symbolic artifacts. The level of planning and the apparent continuity of use indicate a society deeply connected to the cycles of life, death, and the natural world, yet the exact meanings and functions of the structures remain a matter of investigation. The technical execution of Skorba is particularly compelling. The stones are not only massive but often carefully shaped, with flat surfaces and precise edges that allow them to interlock without mortar. Some walls form semicircular apses, while others delineate corridors leading to inner chambers. Constructing such features required not only physical strength, but spatial awareness, measurement, and an understanding of load distribution. Skills that, in the absence of modern surveying instruments, raise questions about how early builders achieved such precision. Could there have been a system of measurement or architectural knowledge passed down through generations, now lost to time, that allowed Neolithic craftsmen to plan, quarry, and position stones with enduring accuracy? The alignment of the structures adds another layer of intrigue. While not as astronomically oriented as Newgrange or Almendres, Skorba's main chambers and apses appear to have been carefully positioned in relation to the rising sun, hinting at ritual observances tied to seasonal cycles. Some researchers have suggested that the temple's orientation facilitated ceremonies during solstices or equinoxes, allowing sunlight to penetrate the inner chambers in fleeting, symbolic moments. Achieving such alignment would have required careful observation, long-term monitoring of celestial events, and a sophisticated translation of those observations into practical architectural design. How did these early communities integrate astronomical knowledge into construction without written records or advanced instruments? Adding to the mystery are the small carvings and artifacts found within the temple complex. Incised stones, stylized figurines, and abstract motifs suggest a symbolic or ritual language, yet their precise meaning remains elusive. Were these objects markers of status, ritual tools, or expressions of cosmological belief? Some motifs mirror symbols found in later Maltese temples, hinting at cultural continuity and shared spiritual knowledge. The ability to create and preserve these symbols across centuries, within structures that were themselves massive and technically challenging to build, reflects an extraordinary level of societal organization and artistic skill. Speculative interpretations of Skorba often focus on the combination of scale, precision, and ritual significance. The stones, carefully aligned chambers, and symbolic artifacts suggest a society with an integrated understanding of architecture, astronomy, and ceremonial practice. Some scholars have proposed that sites like Skorba represent not just places of worship, but centers for cultural knowledge, education, and community cohesion. Spaces where technical skill, observation, and ritual practice were intertwined. If this is the case, then the construction of Skorba involved not only labor, but also highly specialized knowledge that may have been taught and preserved across generations. How exactly was this knowledge transferred and applied, and what other techniques have been lost to history? The organization required to erect massive stone walls, shape corridors, and maintain ceremonial spaces over centuries also presents a logistical mystery. Transporting stones from distant quarries, shaping them with primitive tools, and ensuring structural stability would have demanded coordinated labor, planning, and a deep understanding of material properties. The effort reflects both social complexity and technical sophistication, yet modern attempts to replicate similar construction with Neolithic techniques highlight the difficulty of reproducing such achievements. What methods did the builders employ to manage weight, leverage, and alignment, and how much of this knowledge was empirical versus systematically understood? Even today, the site continues to reveal hidden features. Excavations have uncovered previously buried chambers, post holes, and ritual deposits, suggesting that the visible ruins are only a portion of the original complex. Non-invasive surveys hint at additional structures and alignments yet to be fully explored, reinforcing the idea that Skorba was both extensive and carefully designed. Each discovery adds depth to our understanding, while simultaneously highlighting the gaps in knowledge that make replication and full comprehension so challenging. Standing amidst the ancient walls, tracing the carefully fitted stones and imagining the ceremonies that once took place within the inner chambers, one cannot help but feel the presence of human ingenuity, observation, and devotion. Skorba embodies a synthesis of technical skill, ritual significance, and societal organization, leaving a lasting impression of both achievement and mystery. The structures endure not simply as remnants of the past, but as a challenge to modern assumptions about what early communities were capable of accomplishing. And yet, the questions remain. How were these stones quarried, shaped, and transported with such precision? How were corridors and apses planned and aligned without advanced surveying tools? What rituals, knowledge, or symbolic systems guided the placement of every block, every chamber, and every carving? If modern attempts struggle to reproduce the construction with the same accuracy and stability, what does that reveal about the ingenuity, observation, and technical skill of Malta's earliest temple builders? The Skorba temples remain silent, monumental, and enigmatic. Their walls, corridors, and symbolic carvings speak to human creativity, organization, and devotion, yet they also invite reflection on the mysteries that survive in stone. What knowledge, methods, or intentions are hidden within these ancient structures, still beyond our comprehension, waiting for the careful observer to discern the extraordinary sophistication of a civilization that existed more than 6,000 years ago? From the limestone terraces of Skorba, where Neolithic hands shaped massive stones into enduring temples, our journey now shifts eastward across the Mediterranean and into the arid landscapes of Sudan. Here, on the banks of the life-giving Nile, rise the towering Deffufa structures at Kerma, a civilization's monumental architecture that has puzzled historians and archaeologists for decades. Unlike the compact, ritual-focused temples of Malta, Kerma Deffufa sprawls across the desert in enormous mud-brick mounds, their scale, design, and purpose hinting at an advanced society capable of feats of construction that, even today, remain difficult to fully replicate or comprehend. The first sight of a Deffufa is striking. From a distance, these colossal mud brick structures rise abruptly from the flat Nubian desert, their rectangular silhouettes contrasting sharply against the pale horizon. The largest, known simply as the Western Deffufa, towers several stories high and stretches more than 50 meters in length. Its flat roof and tiered walls suggest both architectural ambition and structural ingenuity. Close observation reveals thick walls punctuated by recessed niches, internal chambers, and corridors whose arrangement implies careful planning. Even though composed entirely of mud brick, a material far less durable than stone, the Deffufa has endured centuries of heat, wind, and seasonal floods, standing as a testament to the engineering capabilities of its builders. Archaeologists date Kerma and its Deffufa structures to between 2500 and 1500 BCE, contemporary with the Old Kingdom and Middle Kingdom periods of ancient Egypt. The site was a central hub for political, religious, and economic activity in Nubia, yet the Deffufa itself appears to serve primarily ceremonial or sacred functions. Excavations reveal evidence of ritual deposits, altars, and possibly burial spaces within or adjacent to the mounds, but the exact use remains unclear. Unlike stone temples, which resist decay for millennia, mud brick requires maintenance. The enduring presence of the Deffufa suggests not only initial engineering skill, but ongoing communal care and knowledge of construction techniques that allowed these enormous structures to survive in such a harsh environment. The construction itself presents immediate technical questions. Mud brick, though abundant and relatively easy to form, presents significant challenges at the scale of the Deffufa. Bricks must be consistently shaped, carefully stacked, and often reinforced to prevent collapse under weight and environmental stress. The internal chambers are raised several meters above ground level, with multiple tiers that distribute load while creating functional interior space. The builders accomplished this without modern scaffolding or concrete, relying instead on simple tools, human labor, and an intuitive understanding of material properties. How did they ensure structural stability over centuries? What knowledge guided the precise layering and alignment of mud bricks to achieve monumental scale without catastrophic collapse? The layout of the Deffufa suggests more than practicality. It reflects deliberate spatial and symbolic organization. The Western Deffufa contains multiple chambers arranged along an axial corridor, with external niches that may have framed ritual activities or processions. Some scholars propose that the orientation of the structure corresponds to cardinal points or solar events, echoing practices seen in other ancient civilizations, though evidence remains limited. The combination of scale, complexity, and alignment implies that the builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of geometry and spatial reasoning, translating abstract concepts into tangible, enduring forms. Adjacent to the Western Deffufa lies a smaller, eastern counterpart, while scattered around the site are cemeteries, altars, and other structures associated with religious and civic activity. Together, these elements create an integrated ceremonial complex, suggesting centralized planning, organized labor, and an ability to mobilize large groups of people for construction and ritual purposes. Some researchers speculate that the Deffufa functioned as a focal point for community identity, spiritual practice, and political authority, serving both as a sacred monument and a statement of the city's organizational sophistication. The ritual significance of the Deffufa is further reinforced by the evidence of burial and offerings within its vicinity. Human remains, pottery, and symbolic artifacts indicate that the structure may have served as a link between the living and the divine, a ceremonial anchor for the society of Kerma. The combination of monumental architecture and ritual practice is striking, and it raises questions about the cultural and technological knowledge required to create and maintain such a complex. How did the builders coordinate construction, ritual activity, and material production in a society without formalized engineering texts or written architectural plans. Speculative interpretations add to the mystery. Some archaeologists propose that the tiered design of the Deffufa reflects not only structural necessity, but also symbolic cosmology, perhaps representing layers of the cosmos, stages of ritual ascent, or the hierarchical structure of Kerma society itself. Others point to the precision of mud brick shaping and alignment as evidence of sophisticated surveying techniques, potentially lost over millennia. While we may never fully know the symbolic or ceremonial meaning, the difficulty of replicating the Deffufa today underscores the extraordinary skill and ingenuity of its builders. The labor required to construct these massive mud brick mounds must also have been immense. Thousands of bricks, each weighing tens of kilograms, had to be shaped, dried, and transported to the site. Erecting the tiered walls required careful staging, balancing, and reinforcement at every level. Archaeologists have noted that even minor errors in construction could have caused collapse, meaning that the builders had to maintain strict quality control and precision across large-scale projects. How did a society without modern machinery manage these logistical challenges? What cultural or spiritual imperative drove such monumental effort, sustained over decades? Even now, the Deffufa continues to reveal subtleties about its construction and purpose. Archaeological surveys and excavations uncover traces of plaster finishes, remnants of painted walls, and faint indications of additional chambers or extensions that may have been lost to time. Each discovery adds nuance to our understanding while reinforcing the mystery. How much knowledge was encoded in the structure itself, waiting to be deciphered by careful observation? Standing before the Western Deffufa, observing its towering walls and imagining the bustling ceremonial life that once surrounded it, one is struck by the combination of human ingenuity, spiritual devotion, and technical skill required to create such a monument. It speaks to a society capable of integrating architecture, ritual, and organization into a single enduring form. Yet it also confronts us with the unanswerable question of methodology. How did the builders, with tools we would consider rudimentary, achieve precision, stability, and scale that continues to challenge modern engineers? And so, the questions endure. How were these massive mud brick walls designed, reinforced, and maintained over centuries? What symbolic, ritual, or astronomical knowledge guided their orientation and layout? How did the society of Kerma coordinate labor, resources, and expertise to achieve such enduring monuments? If the construction of the Deffufa resists full replication, even with modern understanding, what does that reveal about the knowledge, organization, and ingenuity of its creators? The Kerma Deffufa endures as a silent, monumental witness to human ambition, ritual, and technical skill. Its tiered walls, hidden chambers, and imposing presence speak both to what ancient societies could achieve and to what remains beyond our comprehension. Standing amidst its shadowed corridors, one cannot help but wonder what secrets of construction, ritual, or lost knowledge still lie hidden in the sun-baked bricks, waiting to reveal themselves to those patient enough to observe, study, and reflect upon this extraordinary relic of a civilization long vanished. From the sun-baked mud-brick terraces of Kerma, where the towering Deffufa rises above the Nubian plains as both monument and mystery, our journey now moves northeast across the deserts of the Middle East to the fertile plains of Iran. Here, in the ancient settlement of Tepe Sialk, lie the enigmatic remains of a ziggurat, one of the earliest known monumental structures in the Iranian plateau. Unlike the mud brick pyramids of Kerma or the stone Trilithons of Almendres, the Tepe Sialk ziggurat embodies a convergence of ceremonial, civic, and possibly astronomical ambition, offering a glimpse into a society whose technical and architectural achievements continue to confound modern understanding. Rising subtly above the surrounding plains, the remains of Tepe Sialk at first appear modest, a series of eroded terraces and weathered mud brick walls, but closer inspection reveals a complex, multi-layered construction that speaks to centuries of development. The ziggurat's core is composed of thick, rectangular mud brick platforms stacked in tiers, each platform slightly smaller than the one below, creating a stepped profile reminiscent of a stairway to the heavens. Though erosion and time have softened its edges, the original scale is evident. The structure would have dominated the landscape, visible for miles around, asserting both physical presence and symbolic authority. Excavations date the earliest occupation at Tepe Sialk to around 5000 BCE, with the monumental ziggurat construction occurring approximately 3000 to 2500 BCE. The site reveals evidence of prolonged human activity, including habitation, trade, ritual, and craft production. The ziggurat itself appears to have served a ceremonial function, likely as a focal point for religious observance or civic display. Archaeologists have uncovered mud brick platforms, ceremonial deposits, and traces of fire pits and altars, hinting at ritual practices whose precise meaning remains elusive. Unlike simpler structures, the ziggurat reflects both long-term planning and a sophisticated understanding of materials, weight distribution, and spatial organization. The construction techniques employed at Tepe Sialk are particularly striking. Mud brick, carefully shaped and fired, was the primary building material, yet the massive scale and enduring stability of the ziggurat suggest knowledge of structural engineering that seems advanced for its time. The terraces were arranged with precision, allowing for tiered platforms that could support additional construction, accommodate ceremonial movement, and possibly serve symbolic or observational purposes. How did the builders ensure that each successive layer remained stable without the tools, scaffolding, and engineering calculations we rely on today? Could there have been techniques, now lost, that allowed Neolithic builders to achieve both monumental scale and long-term durability? The spatial arrangement of the ziggurat further deepens the mystery. The terraces, stair-like in design, may have been intended to elevate the sacred or ruling elite above the everyday life of the settlement below, creating a literal and symbolic hierarchy. Some researchers suggest that the orientation of the ziggurat may reflect solar or lunar alignments, capturing light during specific times of the year or marking seasonal transitions. Others propose that the terraces were designed to channel processions, rituals, or communal gatherings along precise pathways, emphasizing the integration of social, religious, and architectural planning. How did a pre-literate society translate abstract concepts of hierarchy, cosmology, and ritual into a physical structure of such sophistication? Adding to the intrigue are the layers of occupation beneath and around the ziggurat. Tepe Sialk reveals a stratigraphy of cultural development. Earlier mud brick foundations, domestic spaces, craft workshops, and ceremonial deposits suggest a society deeply engaged in both the practical and symbolic aspects of life. Evidence of metallurgy, pottery production, and trade indicates a community with extensive technical knowledge and organizational capacity. The ziggurat, rising above this complex, appears both as a culmination of accumulated skill and as a statement of societal ambition. Yet many questions remain. Was the ziggurat solely ceremonial, or did it also serve administrative, astronomical, or symbolic functions now hidden from view? Experimental studies underscore the difficulty of replicating the construction with available Neolithic technology. Each mud brick would have required precise shaping and drying, while the sheer number of bricks and the scale of the terraces demanded coordinated labor over years or decades. The ziggurat's stability relied on careful stacking, alignment, and possibly reinforcement techniques that are only partially understood today. How was labor organized to achieve such feats? What knowledge guided the measurement, leveling, and integration of each platform into a coherent, enduring structure? The challenges posed by the ziggurat's construction highlight the advanced capabilities of its builders, whose methods remain largely enigmatic. Speculative interpretations invite further wonder. Some researchers suggest that Tepe Sialk may have functioned as an astronomical observatory, with terrace edges or alignments designed to track celestial cycles. Others propose that the stepped platforms symbolize a cosmological map, a stairway connecting Earth, humanity, and the divine. The careful integration of construction, elevation, and spatial hierarchy implies not only technical knowledge but a sophisticated cultural worldview. Yet, without definitive textual or pictorial records, the precise meaning remains lost to time, leaving the ziggurat as both a testament to human ingenuity and a puzzle of enduring mystery. The labor, organization, and coordination required to construct Tepe Sialk are remarkable. Transporting vast quantities of mud brick, stacking and aligning terraces, and maintaining structural stability across centuries would have required disciplined planning, an understanding of materials, and social cohesion. The ziggurat's endurance through millennia of weathering, human activity, and erosion underscores the effectiveness of these techniques. Yet our inability to fully replicate the construction today emphasizes the gap between ancient expertise and modern assumptions about prehistoric capability. How much knowledge has been irretrievably lost, buried within the very walls of the ziggurat itself? Even today, excavation continues to reveal subtle details, traces of plaster, remnants of walls and foundations, and faint patterns that hint at additional terraces or ceremonial spaces. Each discovery adds nuance, suggesting that what is visible is only a fraction of the original monumental complex. The ziggurat, both in its surviving form and in the mysteries concealed beneath, challenges archaeologists and engineers alike to reconcile the ancient methods with the scale and precision achieved. Standing atop the ruined terraces, surveying the surrounding plains, one is struck by the combination of human ambition, technical knowledge, and ritual intention encoded into every brick, corridor, and platform. Tepe Sialk embodies a society capable of integrating architectural innovation, ceremonial function, and social organization into a single enduring monument. And yet, despite centuries of study, it retains an aura of the unknowable, a structure designed by minds that understood principles we can observe but not fully reproduce. The questions endure. How were these terraces measured and aligned with such precision? How were massive quantities of mud brick produced, shaped, and placed to create a stable, multi-tiered platform? What symbolic, ceremonial, or possibly astronomical knowledge guided its design? If even modern engineers struggle to replicate the construction, what does that imply about the capabilities, understanding, and ingenuity of the society that built it? The Tepe Sialk ziggurat remains silent and monumental, a relic of human ambition that challenges both imagination and technical understanding. Its mud brick terraces, tiered platforms, and subtle alignments speak to a culture of remarkable skill and foresight. Yet they leave open the lingering question: what deeper knowledge, ritual significance, or lost techniques remain hidden within its ancient walls, waiting to be discerned by those who study its enduring presence? From the sun-baked terraces of Tepe Sialk, where ancient mud brick platforms reach toward the sky and hint at a civilization whose engineering and ceremonial knowledge challenges modern replication, our journey turns northwest to the rolling hills of southern England. Here, hidden among gentle fields and dense hedgerows, lie the outskirts of Danebury, a site long recognized for its Iron Age hill fort, yet surrounded by secret mounds whose purpose, construction, and enduring mystery have confounded archaeologists for generations. Unlike the monumental ziggurats of Iran, these mounds are subtler, their presence almost whispered into the landscape. Yet they carry a weight of human intention that is no less remarkable. Approaching the outskirts of Danebury, one notices the terrain is punctuated by low, rounded mounds, partially obscured by grass, hedgerows, and centuries of farming. At first glance, they appear natural, mere undulations of the earth. But closer inspection reveals carefully shaped embankments and subtle depressions, hinting at deliberate construction. Some mounds are paired with pits, ditches, or faint traces of wooden post holes, suggesting a complex interplay of earthworks that extends beyond the obvious fortifications. The site exudes a quiet authority, a sense that the landscape itself has been molded with purpose, and that every rise, slope, and hollow carries meaning still largely inaccessible to modern eyes. Archaeological investigation dates Danebury's central hill fort to roughly 900 to 400 BCE, a peak period of Iron Age settlement in southern England. Yet these peripheral mounds predate some fortifications and may have continued in use long after the hill fort's primary occupation. Evidence of cremation deposits, scattered pottery fragments, and post hole alignments indicate ritual, burial, or ceremonial activity. Unlike the formal, symmetrical earthworks of later periods, these mounds exhibit subtle irregularities, intentional, or perhaps the result of evolving use over centuries. Their design, scale, and placement suggest knowledge of landscape manipulation that is sophisticated, yet difficult to fully interpret today. What drove the construction of these secretive mounds, and how did the builders decide upon their exact locations and forms? The construction methods themselves are puzzling. Unlike the mud brick terraces of Tepe Sialk or the massive stones of Almendres, the Danebury mounds were built with earth, chalk, and occasionally timber reinforcement. Yet achieving the subtle contours and durable forms evident today would have required careful planning and labor coordination. The builders had to consider soil compaction, drainage, and long-term stability, knowledge not formally recorded in any surviving text. Experimental archaeology suggests that replicating even one mound with comparable precision and durability is a labor-intensive challenge, raising questions about the social organization, techniques, and empirical knowledge that guided these efforts. How did Iron Age communities without standardized engineering systems or written records manage to produce mounds that endure millennia? The placement of the mounds further deepens the mystery. Many appear strategically located on ridges, slopes, or in alignment with nearby natural features, such as streams, valleys, or the main hill fort itself. Some researchers suggest that these positions may correspond to solar or lunar observations, marking solstices, equinoxes, or seasonal transitions essential for agricultural or ritual cycles. Others propose that the mounds' delineated territorial boundaries served as ceremonial markers or functioned as memorials for ancestors. Yet no interpretation fully accounts for the subtlety, variety, and enduring coherence of the mounds across the landscape. Were these choices purely practical, symbolic, or a sophisticated combination of both? Artifacts recovered in and around the mounds offer further clues and further questions. Fragments of decorated pottery, worked flint, and occasional metal objects indicate activity spanning centuries. Cremated remains and small deposits suggest ritual use, yet the scale and uniformity of the mounds seem disproportionate to individual burials alone. Could these structures have served dual purposes, functioning simultaneously as burial sites, ceremonial platforms, and markers of social or political authority? If so, what cultural or symbolic logic guided the integration of such complex functions into modest earthworks that appear almost hidden in plain sight? Speculative interpretations abound, each adding a layer of intrigue. Some archaeologists propose that the mounds formed part of a larger, now lost landscape of ceremonial corridors or processional routes connecting settlements, water sources, and sacred sites. Others suggest that the placement, orientation, and subtle gradation of the mounds encode a lost knowledge of astronomy or landscape cosmology. Still others emphasize the social aspect, that the mounds represent an organizational achievement, requiring coordination, communal labor, and intergenerational knowledge transmission, preserved not in texts, but in practice and memory. If even a single mound could not easily be replicated today without extensive study and effort, what does that reveal about the capabilities of the society that created dozens of them? Labor and coordination must have been considerable. Constructing even modest mounds required moving tons of earth, shaping contours, reinforcing slopes, and maintaining form over time. The builders had no machinery, relying instead on tools of wood, bone, and stone, along with human ingenuity and social organization. How many hands were needed, and how was effort coordinated? Was there a ritualized or symbolic instruction set passed orally from generation to generation, ensuring that each mound conformed to an overall plan, despite changes in leadership or community structure over decades or centuries? The sheer endurance of these earthworks implies knowledge, skill, and cultural continuity that challenges conventional assumptions about Iron Age societies in southern England. Even today, subtle clues continue to emerge. Remote sensing, magnetometry, and ground-penetrating radar reveal previously unrecognized features, faint depressions suggesting buried structures, post holes, and alignments that hint at larger networks of ceremonial or functional landscapes. Each discovery suggests that what we see at the surface, the rounded earth mounds, is only a fragment of a complex and intentional design. How much more remains hidden, still embedded in the soil, waiting for careful observation and patient excavation? Standing among the secret mounds, tracing their gentle rises and imagining the ceremonies, burials, and communal work that shaped them, one senses the remarkable integration of human effort, symbolic intent, and environmental awareness. The mounds endure as subtle yet monumental statements of human ingenuity, designed to harmonize with the landscape while serving purposes that may be partially lost to history. They remind us that complexity need not always be monumental in scale. Sometimes the most profound achievements are hidden in plain sight, integrated seamlessly with the earth itself. And yet, questions linger. How were these mounds planned, measured, and constructed with such enduring precision? What rituals, knowledge systems, or symbolic frameworks guided their placement and design? Were they purely functional, purely ceremonial, or a sophisticated fusion of both? If modern surveyors and archaeologists struggle to replicate the subtlety, alignment, and durability of even a single mound, what does that suggest about the technical skill, social organization, and cultural knowledge of the builders who shaped this landscape so long ago? The secret mounds of the Danebury outskirts remain silent, enduring, and mysterious. Their gentle rises, hidden chambers, and subtle alignments speak to human ingenuity, organization, and devotion, yet they also challenge our ability to fully comprehend their original purpose. Standing among them, one is left with a sense of awe and reflection, contemplating what knowledge, ritual significance, or lost techniques remain concealed within the soil, waiting to be discovered by those who take the time to observe, study, and wonder at these extraordinary achievements of a society long vanished. From the gentle hills and secretive mounds of Danebury, where Iron Age communities shaped the landscape with earth and intent, our journey now sweeps across the Atlantic and southward to the arid coastal plains of northern Peru. Here lies the Tucumay Pyramid Clusters, a sprawling complex of adobe pyramids and ceremonial platforms that stretches across the Lambayeque Valley like a city frozen in time. Unlike the subtly contoured mounds of southern England, Tucumay rises boldly from the desert floor, its monumental forms visible for miles, yet its purpose, construction, and the technical knowledge required to create it remain tantalizingly elusive, even to the most experienced archaeologists today. Approaching the site, the first impression is one of vast scale. The complex comprises 26 major pyramids and hundreds of smaller platforms, clustered across more than 220 acres. Each pyramid, composed of sun-dried adobe bricks, rises in stepped tiers, their precise geometric forms contrasting with the surrounding desert landscape. The largest pyramids soar to heights of more than 50 feet, their sheer mass and complex layout suggesting an advanced understanding of structural stability and spatial organization. From afar, the site presents a hypnotic rhythm of geometric repetition, terraces and stairways, all oriented across the valley with an order that seems deliberate yet enigmatic. Archaeologists trace the earliest occupation of Tukume to around 1000 CE, though the site itself reflects layers of successive cultures, including the Lambayekwe, Sikan, and Chimu civilizations. The pyramids were constructed primarily from adobe, a material that is both abundant and vulnerable, yet they have endured centuries of seasonal rains, seismic activity, and human intervention. The endurance of these massive forms challenges assumptions about the limitations of pre-Columbian engineering. How did builders ensure stability and durability in structures composed largely of mud and clay, without modern reinforcement or machinery? The layout of Tukume deepens the mystery. The pyramids are arranged in clusters that seem to define neighborhoods, ceremonial centers, and perhaps administrative hubs. Certain alignments appear to correspond to cardinal directions, while others suggest observation of the sun, stars, or horizon features, hinting at potential astronomical significance. The repetition of form and orientation across the complex raises questions about whether the site functioned purely as a ceremonial center or also incorporated elements of urban planning, governance, or cosmological mapping. How did these cultures translate abstract concepts of ritual, hierarchy, and celestial cycles into a coherent physical landscape, built with such precision and scale? The construction techniques themselves are extraordinary. Adobe bricks, molded by hand and sun-dried, form the backbone of each pyramid. Yet the scale and geometry demand careful engineering. Builders had to calculate load distribution, slope stability, and terraced reinforcement, often creating stairways, niches, and ceremonial spaces within the pyramid cores. Some structures feature internal passageways and chambers, suggesting that access and ritual movement were integral to their design. Experimental archaeology has attempted to replicate adobe construction at similar scales, and even with contemporary tools, the process proves laborious and technically demanding. What knowledge of materials, structural principles, and long-term maintenance did the builders possess that allowed these pyramids to endure centuries of environmental stress? Artifacts and ceremonial remnants further deepen the intrigue. Excavations have revealed pottery, ceremonial vessels, gold and silver objects, and human remains, indicating ritual use and possibly elite interment. Some artifacts suggest trade or contact with distant regions, highlighting the strategic and cultural significance of Tukume. The combination of monumental construction, ceremonial deposition, and material wealth points to a society with both technical sophistication and complex social organization. Yet despite extensive study, the exact purposes of individual pyramids, whether tombs, temples, administrative centers, or a combination, remain uncertain. Could some of the pyramids have served multiple functions simultaneously, integrating ritual, governance, and observation into single monumental forms? Speculative interpretations offer even more tantalizing possibilities. Some researchers propose that Tukume was intentionally designed to reflect cosmological principles, with the pyramids and platforms serving as a terrestrial map of the heavens, encoding celestial knowledge in adobe and earth. Others suggest that the orientation and clustering of pyramids may have facilitated processional rituals, linking ceremonies across the valley through sightlines, pathways, and elevated platforms. The repetition of geometric forms across the site hints at cultural or symbolic codification, a system of measurement, order, and meaning that has largely been lost to time. How much of this knowledge was empirical, and how much was guided by an abstract understanding of mathematics, cosmology, or social order? Labor organization at Tukume must also have been immense. Constructing massive adobe pyramids required not only material preparation, but precise stacking, leveling, and reinforcement across multiple tiers. Communities had to mobilize hundreds, perhaps thousands of workers for construction, transport, and maintenance, coordinated over decades or centuries. How was this knowledge transmitted without written architectural plans? What social or religious structures supported such sustained effort, ensuring that the pyramids were both monumental and enduring? The challenge of replication, even with modern insight, underscores the extraordinary human ingenuity embedded in every adobe block and terrace. Even now, Tukume continues to reveal secrets. Archaeological surveys using ground-penetrating radar, aerial photography, and LiDAR have detected previously unrecognized terraces, pathways, and buried chambers, suggesting that the visible pyramids are only part of a far larger, meticulously organized complex. Each new discovery raises further questions. What principles guided the placement, orientation, and clustering of pyramids? What ceremonial, social, or symbolic systems dictated their design? And what knowledge has been lost to erosion, conquest, or cultural transformation over centuries? Standing amid the massive adobe structures, one is struck by the combination of scale, ambition, and technical precision. The Tukume pyramids are not only monuments to ritual or power, they are expressions of human ingenuity, societal coordination, and observation, capable of challenging modern expectations about pre-Columbian capabilities. Yet they remain enigmatic. Their sheer size, structural complexity, and intricate spatial relationships continue to resist full replication or complete understanding, a silent testament to knowledge that has largely vanished. And still, the questions endure. How were these enormous adobe structures planned, measured, and constructed with such precision and durability? What celestial, ceremonial, or social principles influenced their placement and clustering? How did the builders transmit knowledge across generations to maintain coherence, scale, and alignment over centuries? If even modern archaeologists struggle to replicate the Tukume pyramids' construction, what does that reveal about the technical skill, ingenuity, and cultural sophistication of the civilizations that raised them? The Tukume pyramid clusters stand as monumental witnesses to human ambition, technical achievement, and ritual expression. Their adobe terraces, stepped platforms, and subtle alignments whisper of civilizations that understood materials, landscape, and perhaps the cosmos in ways that remain partially hidden from us. Walking among them, observing their geometric forms, and imagining the ceremonies and processes that shaped them, one is left with a sense of awe, and an invitation to ponder what secrets, methods, or knowledge remain buried within the sun-baked earth, waiting for those who study, reflect, and wonder. From the sprawling adobe pyramids of Tukume, whose stepped terraces rise across the Peruvian plains in patterns both monumental and enigmatic, our journey now arcs westward across continents and oceans, to the Indus River plains of present-day Pakistan. Here lies Mohenjo-Daro, a city whose very name evokes the mystery of one of the earliest urban civilizations in human history. Unlike the ceremonial clusters of Tukume or the sun-baked mounds of Danebury, Mohenjo-Daro represents not only architectural ingenuity, but a fully realized urban plan, a civilization so sophisticated that modern engineers and archaeologists continue to debate how its streets, drains, and massive structures could have been constructed and maintained with the technology available over 4 millennia ago. Arriving at the site, the scale immediately impresses. The ruins stretch over several square kilometers, revealing a city laid out with remarkable regularity. Straight streets intersect at right angles, creating a grid pattern that divides the city into precise blocks. Massive citadel platforms rise above the surrounding habitation areas, their foundations composed of carefully molded baked bricks that remain largely intact despite centuries of riverine floods, erosion, and human activity. The regularity, symmetry, and scale of Mohenjo-Daro's construction suggest a level of civic planning and technical knowledge that challenges assumptions about urban development in 2500 BCE. How did a civilization without modern surveying tools, engineering texts, or mechanized labor manage to create a city so organized, so enduring, and so functionally sophisticated? Central to the city is the Great Bath, an enormous rectangular pool measuring roughly 12 meters by 7 meters, constructed from finely fitted bricks and sealed with bitumen to hold water. Surrounding the bath are stepped terraces and chambers, likely used for ritual or communal purposes. The precision with which the bath was engineered, waterproofed, terraced, and integrated into the urban grid, suggests advanced knowledge of materials, hydrology, and construction techniques. Was this an expression of religious or ceremonial practice, a civic center of purification, or a combination of both? The very concept of such a structure implies a cultural and technological sophistication difficult to replicate even today. The streets themselves reflect careful planning. Residences are organized in uniform blocks, often 2 or 3 stories high, constructed with standardized baked bricks. Narrow lanes provide access to homes, and open courtyards allow for ventilation and communal interaction. Yet, beyond domestic planning, Mohenjo-Daro exhibits a mastery of infrastructure that is extraordinary for its time. An extensive drainage system channels waste from homes into covered sewers, preventing contamination and facilitating public hygiene. This early municipal engineering is unparalleled in contemporary civilizations of the same era. How did planners coordinate such an integrated system without written architectural schematics, standardized measurements, or mechanized labor? Artifacts recovered from the site deepen the mystery. Seals etched with intricate animal motifs, small figurines, and a variety of tools suggest a society with complex trade networks, social stratification, and symbolic expression. Some seals may have functioned as administrative tools, hints of record-keeping or markers of identity. Pottery and ornaments indicate connections with distant regions, reflecting a network of cultural and commercial exchange that required not only organization, but communication and knowledge of materials. Yet, despite centuries of excavation, no deciphered written record has been found that explains the city's administration, religion, or social organization. What knowledge guided the design of Mohenjo-Daro, and why does the civilization vanish from history so abruptly? The construction of the city itself raises questions that continue to puzzle experts. The uniformity of brick size, the precision of alignment in streets, terraces, and public spaces, and the integration of drainage and water management systems indicate sophisticated knowledge of measurement, proportion, and civil engineering. Was there a standardized system of measurement transmitted across generations, lost to time, that enabled such architectural cohesion? How were labor and resources organized to achieve such uniformity and scale without the tools and machinery we take for granted today? Modern attempts to replicate Mohenjo-Daro's construction, even with contemporary engineering knowledge, demonstrate the difficulty of producing comparable results. Speculative interpretations add layers to the mystery. Some researchers propose that the city's layout reflects cosmological or symbolic principles, aligning streets or key structures with cardinal directions or celestial events. Others suggest that the design reflects social hierarchy, with citadel platforms and ceremonial areas elevating the spiritual or political elite above ordinary citizens. The interplay between functional urban planning and symbolic or ritual significance remains a puzzle. Was Mohenjo-Daro primarily a pragmatic urban settlement, a ceremonial hub, or a sophisticated fusion of both? And if the latter, how was such knowledge encoded in stone, brick, and urban form? The sudden decline and disappearance of the Indus Valley civilization adds further intrigue. Once thriving, the city was abandoned for reasons still debated. Shifting river patterns, environmental change, disease, or social upheaval may have contributed. Yet, the construction techniques, urban design, and technological sophistication of Mohenjo-Daro seem far ahead of what might be expected from a civilization that left no decipherable written records to explain its methods. What knowledge vanished with the city's inhabitants, and what secrets remain buried beneath the ruins, waiting for modern archaeology to uncover? Even today, subtle traces of the city reveal unexpected sophistication. Excavations uncover remnants of homes, granaries, and workshops, evidence of metallurgy, beadmaking, and textile production, and careful attention to orientation, drainage, and urban cohesion. Every brick, corridor, and terrace reflects deliberate planning, yet each discovery also amplifies the questions. How was this knowledge acquired, transmitted, and implemented? How did a civilization achieve architectural precision and urban functionality at a scale that continues to challenge replication without leaving written instructions? Standing amidst the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, tracing the straight streets, imagining the bustling baths, markets, and homes, one is confronted with the enduring mystery of human ingenuity. The city embodies an advanced understanding of urban planning, engineering, and social organization, yet it also evokes a profound sense of the unknown. We can observe its structure, reconstruct its streets, and analyze its materials. But the minds that conceived the city, the methods they employed, and the cultural frameworks that guided its construction remain largely inaccessible. And so, the questions endure. How did the inhabitants measure, plan, and coordinate a city of such complexity? How were monumental structures like the Great Bath waterproofed, terraced, and integrated into a precise urban grid without modern engineering knowledge? What principles, mathematical, ritual, or social, guided the layout, orientation, and construction of streets, homes, and public spaces? If Mohenjo-Daro resists full replication today, what does that reveal about the capabilities, knowledge, and organization of the society that built it? Mohenjo-Daro stands as both a marvel of human achievement and a profound enigma. Its straight streets, monumental baths, and sophisticated drainage systems speak to ingenuity, planning, and technical skill, yet they leave unanswered questions about methods, purpose, and lost knowledge. Walking through the remains of the city, one is left to contemplate the extraordinary capabilities of the Indus Valley civilization, and to wonder what secrets of construction, urban design, and societal organization may still lie hidden beneath the earth, waiting for those patient enough to uncover them. From the meticulously planned streets and monumental baths of Mohenjo-Daro, where the Indus Valley civilization revealed an urban sophistication that continues to challenge modern engineering, our exploration moves deeper into the ingenuity of this ancient culture, turning toward one of its most remarkable yet often overlooked achievements, the Dolavira Reservoir System. Unlike the sprawling streets or ceremonial baths of Mohenjo-Daro, here we find evidence of hydraulic mastery, an entire city designed not just for habitation, but for the careful capture, storage, and management of water in an arid landscape that demanded precision, foresight, and technical brilliance. Dolavira sits on the arid Ran of Kutch Plateau, where annual rainfall is sparse and unpredictable. At first glance, the city appears modest, a series of stone and mud brick structures laid out along a rectangular grid. But closer observation reveals a network of reservoirs, channels, and catchment systems integrated seamlessly into the city's layout. Massive stepped tanks, some over 200 meters long, occupy prominent locations within the city, their retaining walls constructed from finely dressed limestone blocks. These reservoirs were designed to collect monsoon rainwater, channel it through precisely engineered conduits, and store it for year-round use. The scale, precision, and durability of these hydraulic works are extraordinary, especially given the tools and technology available to the Harappan engineers. Dating from around 2500 to 1500 BCE, Dholavira flourished contemporaneously with Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa. Yet its water management system distinguishes it from its Indus Valley counterparts. The reservoirs are tiered and interlinked, designed to capture runoff from streets, courtyards, and catchment areas. Overflow channels and sedimentation basins reveal a sophisticated understanding of hydrodynamics, erosion control, and seasonal water variation. Unlike modern dams or aqueducts, these reservoirs were constructed entirely without cement, reinforced concrete, or mechanized tools. Yet many of the structures survive intact, testifying to the ingenuity of their builders. How did the Harappans calculate slope, flow, and storage capacity with such precision? And how did they translate abstract hydrological principles into enduring stone and mud brick forms? The placement of the reservoirs within the city adds to the mystery. Each tank is carefully aligned with residential and administrative sectors, suggesting integration of water management with urban planning. Stepped designs allowed access to water at varying levels, supporting domestic, ritual, and possibly industrial needs. Smaller channels fed into larger storage tanks, demonstrating not only functional efficiency, but also a potential understanding of modular systems and redundancy. Could these reservoirs have also served a ceremonial or symbolic function, linking water, ritual purification, and social hierarchy in ways we are only beginning to imagine? Construction techniques at Dholavira further challenge replication. The stepped tanks, built with precisely cut limestone blocks and mortared joints, required both extensive quarrying and skilled placement. Each reservoir's base had to be level, watertight, and structurally stable, an extraordinary accomplishment in an era without advanced surveying tools or modern construction materials. Seasonal maintenance would have been essential, requiring coordinated labor and long-term planning. How did a pre-literate society transmit this knowledge across generations, ensuring consistent construction quality and functional efficiency across an entire city? Modern attempts to replicate these reservoirs underscore the difficulty. Even with contemporary engineering insight, reproducing their durability and functionality is far from straightforward. The broader implications of the system deepen its mystery. Dholavira demonstrates that the Indus Valley civilization possessed an advanced understanding of environmental adaptation. The ability to harvest, store, and distribute water in a semi-desert landscape was critical for survival and social organization. Yet the sophistication of the system, tiered reservoirs, overflow channels, sedimentation basins, suggests a conceptual understanding of hydraulics and urban ecology that appears remarkably advanced for the Bronze Age. Did the Harappans arrive at these designs through empirical observation alone, or was there a codified body of knowledge now lost that guided such integrated urban planning? Artifacts recovered from the site offer tantalizing clues but few definitive answers. Stone tools, pottery, and seals suggest a thriving urban community with trade and administrative activity. Some suggest that water may have played a role in ceremonial or ritual life, linking reservoirs to public spaces or administrative authority. The integration of water management with civic, domestic, and possibly ceremonial functions hints at a society that approached urban design holistically, considering technical, social, and symbolic dimensions in tandem. Yet the precise reasoning, engineering calculations, and cultural imperatives behind these structures remain obscured. Speculative interpretations invite further wonder. Some archaeologists propose that the tiered reservoirs could have allowed the city to survive extended droughts, providing a strategic advantage over neighboring settlements. Others suggest symbolic or cosmological significance, where water management intertwined with ritual purification, social hierarchy, or even celestial alignment. The systematic nature of Dolavira's hydraulic infrastructure, combined with the city's overall planning, raises fundamental questions about the level of abstract thought, organization, and technical skill achieved by its builders. Could this knowledge have encompassed principles of hydraulics and urban engineering that were never written down, leaving only the physical structures as testament to human ingenuity? Labor organization must have been formidable. Quarrying limestone, shaping blocks, constructing retaining walls, and maintaining water flow would have required coordinated effort across decades. Yet the precision achieved suggests disciplined supervision, standardization of materials, and possibly an early form of engineering oversight. How was labor coordinated, knowledge transmitted, and maintenance ensured over generations in a society without written manuals? The difficulty of replicating even a single reservoir today underscores the extraordinary capabilities of Dolavira's builders. Even now, subtle details emerge from continued archaeological study. Channels, overflow systems, and terraces hint at a networked understanding of water distribution across the city. Patterns suggest that water management extended beyond the reservoirs themselves, encompassing streets, courtyards, and industrial areas in a holistic plan. Each feature embodies practical functionality, yet each also evokes mystery. How were these networks conceived, scaled, and executed with such precision without mechanized surveying or modern materials? Standing among the surviving reservoirs, one senses the silent testimony of ingenuity, foresight, and environmental mastery. The stepped walls, interlinked tanks, and meticulously cut stones reflect an understanding of hydraulics, urban planning, and sustainability that continues to elude full comprehension. They are a physical record of a society capable of integrating practical engineering, social organization, and possibly symbolic or ritual dimensions into structures that endure millennia. And yet, the questions persist. How did the Harappans calculate capacity, slope, and flow without modern tools? What knowledge guided the placement, dimensioning, and integration of multiple reservoirs into a single coherent system? Was there a ceremonial or symbolic layer encoded into their design that remains hidden beneath functional necessity? If replication challenges even modern engineers, what does that tell us about the intellectual, technical, and organizational sophistication of the society that constructed Dolavira? The Dolavira reservoir system remains a silent marvel, a testament to human ingenuity, foresight, and technical skill. Its stepped tanks, interlinked channels, and precise placement evoke both admiration and wonder, challenging our understanding of what Bronze Age civilizations could achieve. Standing beside these ancient waters, one is left to contemplate what methods, calculations, and knowledge have been lost to time, and what secrets still lie hidden, encoded in stone and soil, awaiting discovery by those patient enough to observe, investigate, and reflect. From the ingenious reservoirs of Dolavira, where the Indus Valley civilization engineered water management systems of enduring precision and sophistication, our journey now moves southward along the highlands of the Andes to the mist-shrouded Altiplano of Peru. Here, overlooking the glacial lake of Umayo, stand the enigmatic Silistani Towers, pre-Inca funerary monuments rising from the rocky terrain, their circular forms and perfectly fitted stones marking a civilization's remarkable understanding of both engineering and ritual, yet leaving modern observers with more questions than answers. Unlike the hydraulic genius of D'Oliveira, Silastani impresses with its verticality, precision, and symbolic resonance, challenging us to imagine the minds that conceived these towering stone structures centuries before the Incas themselves. Approaching Silastani, the first impression is the stark elegance of the towers against the backdrop of the lake and surrounding mountains. Dozens of chulpas, as they are locally known, rise like sentinels from the earth, each circular or rectangular tower composed of massive stones, meticulously cut and assembled without mortar. Many stones weigh several tons, yet they fit together with a precision that allows the structures to endure the earthquakes and harsh weather of the high Andean plateau. Some towers soar over 10 meters in height, their circular forms tapering gracefully toward the top, giving the impression of balance and sophistication that seems almost impossible given the technological tools likely available to their builders. Archaeological evidence suggests that the towers were constructed by the Kola people, pre-Inca inhabitants of the region, around the 12th to 15th centuries CE, predating the Inca conquest. Each tower served as a funerary monument, housing the remains of elite individuals, sometimes accompanied by grave goods such as ceramics, textiles, and metal objects. The design of the towers varies. Some are perfectly cylindrical, others slightly conical, with niches and openings that allowed the placement of offerings and possibly ritual observation of the dead. Yet the precision of stone cutting, the uniformity of circularity, and the alignment of certain towers hint at knowledge that goes beyond mere mortuary function, an understanding of geometry, balance, and construction that challenges modern replication. How did the Kola people quarry, transport, and fit these massive stones with such exactitude in a mountainous, earthquake-prone environment? The engineering feats of Silastani are astonishing. Stones are cut and polished to fit seamlessly, with joints so precise that even a blade cannot be inserted between them. Many towers exhibit a slight inward taper, enhancing stability and resisting seismic activity. In some cases, terraces or retaining walls surround the towers, further suggesting an understanding of load distribution and structural reinforcement. Without metal cranes, pulleys, or formal architectural plans, how did the builders achieve this level of precision and durability? Was it empirical knowledge gained over generations, ritualized construction techniques, or an as-yet undiscovered method of manipulating massive stones? The tower's enduring stability, despite centuries of high-altitude weathering, remains a testament to human ingenuity. Beyond the engineering marvels, the layout and orientation of the towers invite speculation. Many are positioned along ridges, cliffs, or elevated plains overlooking Lake Umayo, offering commanding views of the surrounding landscape. Some researchers suggest that the towers may have been aligned to celestial events, such as solstices, lunar cycles, or stellar observations, integrating astronomy into funerary practice. Others propose that the distribution of towers corresponds to social hierarchies, territorial claims, or ritual pathways connecting the living with the ancestors. Yet no inscriptions or definitive records survive to explain the logic behind placement, orientation, or the precise architectural choices. What principles guided these decisions, and how were they transmitted across generations of builders? The construction and placement of the towers imply a highly organized labor force, quarrying stones from nearby outcrops, transporting them across rugged terrain, and assembling them into perfect circular towers would have required coordination, planning, and possibly mechanical aids now lost to history. Some stones weigh multiple tons, raising questions about leverage, pulleys, or human ingenuity in lifting and positioning. Did the builders use earthen ramps, wooden scaffolding, or ingenious leverage systems? And how did they maintain precision while working at heights, and with such massive materials? The challenges of replication underscore the sophistication of Kola engineering. Artifacts found within and around the towers further enrich the mystery. Skeletal remains indicate careful placement and ritual, often accompanied by textiles, ceramics, and metal objects, suggesting a society deeply concerned with status, afterlife, and ceremonial observance. Some towers contain niches and openings positioned with exacting precision, hinting at symbolic functions beyond mere storage of remains. Could the architecture itself have encoded cultural knowledge, spiritual concepts, or cosmological symbolism? Were the towers designed to serve as more than memorials, perhaps as markers of social cohesion, ancestral connection, or ritualized cosmology? Speculative interpretations extend the intrigue. Some scholars propose that the circular form of the towers may reflect the Kala understanding of geometric harmony or celestial cycles, with the cylindrical shape symbolizing cycles of life, death, and regeneration. Others suggest that the tower's placement atop cliffs and terraces was intended to integrate natural topography with ritual architecture, blending human construction with the sacred landscape. Each tower, perfectly balanced and enduring for centuries, represents not only technical skill, but a deliberate integration of cultural, symbolic, and environmental knowledge. Even today, Silistani continues to reveal subtle insights into ancient construction techniques. Examination of masonry, joint patterns, and alignment reveals not only empirical skill, but possibly a systematic understanding of weight distribution and seismic resilience. Modern engineers attempting to replicate even one tower struggle to achieve the precision and stability evident in these ancient monuments. How much knowledge has been lost over centuries, buried in the collective memory of a vanished society? How did pre-Inca builders achieve both monumental form and enduring function in a context of limited tools and technology? Standing among the towers, surveying their vertical elegance against the lake and the Andean skyline, one is struck by the seamless combination of human ingenuity, technical skill, and symbolic intent. Each tower embodies mastery over stone, gravity, and spatial reasoning, while simultaneously serving as a vessel for memory, ritual, and cultural identity. They testify to a civilization from the soaring towers of Silistani, perched above Lake Umayo, where pre-Inca builders demonstrated an extraordinary mastery of stone, geometry, and ritual function. Our journey now sweeps across the Mediterranean to the rugged landscapes of Sardinia. Here, scattered across hills, plains, and coastal ridges, rise the Nuraghe, prehistoric stone towers whose circular forms dominate the landscape, yet whose purpose, construction, and enduring presence continue to perplex archaeologists and historians alike. Unlike the monumental towers of Silustani or the stepped reservoirs of Dolavira, Nuraghe are simultaneously architectural, defensive, and enigmatic, challenging modern understanding of Bronze Age societies. Approaching one of these ancient towers, the first impression is of solidity and permanence. The Nuraghe are constructed from massive basalt or granite blocks, carefully fitted without mortar, their weight alone stabilizing walls that in some cases rise over 20 meters. Many are cone-shaped, tapering slightly toward the top, with internal chambers, spiral staircases, and narrow passages that reveal an advanced understanding of stonework and structural engineering. Some complexes include multiple towers interconnected with walls and courtyards, forming fortresses or settlements that could accommodate entire communities. The precision and durability of these structures, surviving thousands of years of weathering, seismic activity, and human intervention, speak to a technical skill that modern builders still struggle to replicate using only primitive tools. Archaeological evidence dates the Nuraghe to roughly 1900 to 730 BCE, during Sardinia's Bronze Age, a period of social complexity and maritime connectivity across the Mediterranean. Yet despite extensive excavation and study, the precise function of these towers remains uncertain. Many researchers suggest defensive or military purposes, noting their elevated positions, narrow entrances, and strategic vantage points. Others propose ceremonial or religious functions, given the repeated circular motifs, orientation patterns, and occasional placement near sacred wells or megalithic temples. Could it be that Nuraghe simultaneously fulfilled multiple roles, blending protection, habitation, ritual, and social symbolism into a single enduring form? The construction techniques themselves are remarkable. Stones are cut, shaped, and placed with extraordinary precision, often creating corbelled vaults that require no mortar yet remain stable for millennia. Some towers incorporate multiple internal levels with stairways that spiral upward, demonstrating not only practical ingenuity but also an advanced understanding of spatial organization. How did Bronze Age Sardinians calculate load distribution, taper, and structural stability with such accuracy? What knowledge of materials and geometry was transmitted orally or experientially across generations to ensure that each tower endured the test of time? Modern experiments attempting to replicate Nuraghe construction illustrate just how difficult it would be to reproduce even a single tower without sophisticated planning and considerable labor. The distribution and orientation of Nuraghe also provoke intrigue. Some clusters appear aligned along ridgelines or with distant horizons, suggesting potential observational or astronomical significance. Others are situated near freshwater sources, fertile valleys, or coastal access points, indicating strategic or economic considerations. The integration of topography, resource management, and architectural form hints at a sophisticated understanding of landscape planning, yet no definitive records explain the principles behind placement or clustering. Were these alignments purely practical, or did they encode symbolic, ritual, or cosmological knowledge now lost to time? Artifacts recovered from Nuraghe and surrounding settlements add tantalizing, though incomplete, insight. Pottery fragments, tools, jewelry, and occasional bronze weapons suggest complex social organization, trade, and ritual practice. The repeated circular form of the towers themselves, mirrored in domestic architecture and megalithic temples, implies a cultural or symbolic significance beyond mere functionality. Did these forms reflect cosmological beliefs, social hierarchy, or the harmonization of human construction with the natural landscape? And if so, what underlying knowledge informed the uniformity and precision of design across hundreds of structures scattered across Sardinia? Speculative interpretations abound, deepening the aura of mystery. Some scholars propose that Nuraghe were designed as communal centers, combining defense, governance, and ritual functions. Others suggest astronomical observation, with tower placement aligned to solstices, lunar cycles, or other celestial events. Yet, no interpretation fully accounts for the combination of technical achievement, monumental scale, and enduring resilience. Could it be that the builders possessed a conceptual understanding of physics, architecture, and social organization that has been lost entirely to history? Labor organization must have been formidable. Quarrying and transporting massive stones, shaping them for corbelled vaults, and assembling multi-level towers would have required careful coordination, possibly spanning generations. How were such efforts directed in a society without written architectural plans or mechanized tools? How was technical knowledge transmitted to ensure that successive builders could maintain precision and structural integrity? The difficulty of replicating even a single Nuraghe today underscores the extraordinary engineering and social capacity embedded in these towers. Even now, the landscape continues to reveal subtle clues. Excavations and surveys have uncovered foundations of dwellings, defensive walls, and ceremonial enclosures surrounding Nuraghe, suggesting an integrated approach to urban, defensive, and ritual design. Remote sensing reveals alignments, hidden terraces, and terraces now overgrown, hinting at a sophisticated integration of the towers with their environment. Yet, for all we observe and reconstruct, the intentions, calculations, and cultural frameworks that guided their creation remain elusive. Standing among these towering stones, imagining the labor, planning, and knowledge that shaped them, one is struck by the fusion of practicality and mystery. Each Nuraghe is simultaneously a defensive bastion, a monument to communal effort, and an architectural puzzle whose design hints at lost understanding. They endure as silent witnesses to a civilization capable of harmonizing technical skill, social organization, and symbolic expression in ways that continue to confound modern observers. And yet, the questions endure. How did Bronze Age Sardinians quarry, transport, and precisely assemble such massive stones? What knowledge of geometry, weight distribution, and structural engineering did they possess? And how was it passed down? Were these towers purely practical, or did they encode social, ceremonial, or cosmological principles now lost? If modern experts struggle to replicate even a single structure, what does that reveal about the technical sophistication, organizational capacity, and cultural ingenuity of the Nuraghic people? The Nuraghe structures stand as enduring enigmas on Sardinia's hills and plains, their circular towers rising from the landscape as monuments to human skill, vision, and mystery. They challenge our assumptions about the capabilities of Bronze Age civilizations and invite us to contemplate the knowledge, labor, and intent that remain hidden within their stone walls. Each tower asks us to wonder not only how it was built, but what ideas, social structures, and cultural wisdom it preserves, quietly waiting for those patient enough to observe, reflect, and imagine. From the stone towers of Sardinia, where the Nuraghe silently testify to Bronze Age ingenuity, our journey now moves across continents and oceans to the eastern coast of Africa, where the warm waters of the Indian Ocean lap against the ruins of Songo Manara. Unlike the monumental towers of Sardinia or the stepped reservoirs of Dolavira, here we encounter a coastal settlement built on coral stone foundations, a material both abundant and notoriously difficult to work with. Songo Manara's ruins, part of the Swahili city-states that flourished between the 14th and 16th centuries CE, reveal an architectural sophistication and technical mastery that continues to challenge modern understanding. Approaching the site, one is immediately struck by the elegance of its coral stone structures. The city once stretched across a small island, now partially overgrown with foundations, walls, and remnants of mosques and residences rising from the ground like the ghostly outlines of a once thriving urban center. The coral stone, harvested from nearby reefs, was cut, shaped, and mortared into walls that withstood centuries of coastal erosion, tidal action, and human activity. The meticulous fitting of irregular coral blocks, often carved into complex shapes to create arches, niches, and foundations, demonstrates a level of skill that is both practical and aesthetic, a harmony between material, environment, and human intention. How did builders, working without modern tools, manage to shape coral with such precision and assemble it into enduring structures capable of resisting both nature and time? Songo Manara was part of a network of Swahili trading cities along the East African coast, linking interior Africa with Arabia, India, and beyond. The coral stone structures reflect not only local resources, but also a cultural synthesis of African, Arab, and Persian influences. The foundations of houses, mosques, and administrative buildings reveal complex planning, with courtyards, alleyways, and aligned streets suggesting deliberate urban organization. Yet while the architectural layout is orderly, the construction techniques reveal subtle mysteries. Some walls incorporate carefully interlocking coral blocks, while others feature plastering and finishing techniques that resist weathering in ways still studied by conservationists today. Could the builders have possessed a body of technical knowledge, transmitted orally or experientially, that allowed them to manipulate coral, a material far less forgiving than brick or stone, with such precision? The engineering challenges at Songo Manara are significant. Coral is brittle, irregular, and porous, making load-bearing and alignment difficult. Yet the city's foundations supported multi-roomed houses, mosques with domed ceilings, and defensive walls. Some structures include arches and domes, where precise shaping and weight distribution were essential for stability. Even minor miscalculations could result in collapse. How did the builders assess structural integrity, balance, and long-term resilience without modern surveying instruments or engineering calculations? Modern attempts to replicate coral masonry on this scale confirm the difficulty. Even with contemporary tools, the labor and precision required are immense. Artifacts found at Songo Menara further deepen the intrigue. Pottery, beads, coins, and imported goods testify to a cosmopolitan trade network and a society of artisans, merchants, and administrators. The coral stone foundations themselves hint at an understanding of environmental adaptation, with raised platforms to mitigate flooding and careful orientation for airflow and shade. Some scholars propose that certain building techniques, including interlocking coral blocks and specialized mortars, may have been deliberately designed to accommodate seismic activity, coastal subsidence, or seasonal flooding. Yet the full rationale for these design choices remains uncertain. Were the structures purely functional, or did they also encode symbolic, ritual, or cosmological principles? The layout of the city invites speculation. Narrow streets and alleyways connect residential compounds, mosques, and public spaces, suggesting social organization and urban planning beyond mere convenience. Certain structures align with prevailing winds and sunlight, hinting at environmental and possibly ritual considerations. Could the orientation of the foundations reflect astronomical observations, cultural symbolism, or even social hierarchy? If so, how was such knowledge transmitted across generations, preserved without written manuals, and executed with such precision using coral blocks? Labor and organization at Songo Menara must have been significant, harvesting coral from the reefs, shaping irregular blocks, transporting them to the site, and assembling multi-roomed structures required coordinated effort, skill, and careful supervision. How did a society, without mechanized tools, manage the logistics of material extraction, shaping, and placement on a coastal island prone to tides, erosion, and salt damage? The complexity of replication emphasizes the ingenuity embedded in every foundation, every wall, and every carefully interlocked coral block. Even today, the ruins of Songo Menara continue to reveal subtle insights into construction and urban design. Archaeological and conservation studies have uncovered foundations with complex jointing systems, structural reinforcements, and remnants of plastering techniques that prolong durability in a harsh coastal environment. These elements suggest that the builders had a practical understanding of both material properties and environmental challenges, integrated into a broader urban and social framework. Yet, for all we observe, the exact methods, calculations, and cultural rationale remain elusive. Standing among the ruins, one is struck by the combination of fragility and endurance. Coral, seemingly delicate and perishable, has been transformed into structures that have survived centuries of climate, tides, and human impact. The foundations embody both the technical skill and the vision of a society capable of harmonizing natural resources, social needs, and architectural ambition. They invite contemplation not only of the methods used to shape coral into enduring forms, but also of the knowledge, labor, and cultural values encoded within these foundations. And yet, the questions persist. How did the builders shape coral into durable, load-bearing foundations? What techniques ensured stability against the harsh coastal environment? Were design choices driven purely by practical necessity, or did they also incorporate social, ritual, or symbolic meaning? If the coral stone foundations of Songo Menara resist modern replication, what does this tell us about the ingenuity, organization, and knowledge of the Swahili builders who raised them. The coral stone foundations of Songo Manara endure as silent witnesses to human skill, environmental adaptation, and cultural sophistication. They challenge our assumptions about what coastal civilizations could achieve, revealing a technical mastery intertwined with social and symbolic purpose. Walking among these foundations, imagining the skill, planning, and labor required, one is left with a sense of wonder and an invitation to reflect on what knowledge remains hidden, quietly preserved in stone, waiting to be discovered by those willing to study, observe, and question.